morning, race fans, and welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Countdown to Green, refreshed by Coca-Cola. Thanks so much for spending your Tuesday night with us. My name's Amy Long, being joined by the series veterans, Brandon Cattell, Chris Overland, and Michael Grillia. Only 2 spots left up for grabs in the championship four. Who will be joining Bobby Zielinski and Keegan Leahy in the battle for $100,000? The rest of the playoff field needs to survive the treacherous virtual Talladega Speedway in tonight's elimination race as the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series heads into round 17. First, the second playoff race at the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway was dominated by just one driver, and that was number 32 of Keegan Leahy, who led all 250 laps. Take a look.
Field in the hands of Keegan Leahy. It is his 14th career pole position. As we say, let's go playoff racing at Bristol. With the 23-11 duo working through some thick lap traffic. If anytime you get any sort of green flag run, I mean, this is the majority of what you're dealing with as a lead lap car.
Just a little bump there. We saw Bob was struggling mightily off the corner with the right rear. I think he was, maybe it burnt that off a little bit.
Logan Clampett, big winner on pit road, guys. He had snuck up to P6 before the caution, restarted in 4th. And this is big. 2 playoff drivers. Vicente gets into him and sends the 10-car around. Lose on the inside. Oh, and the wreck it is Wilson. He spins, and Michael Conti is involved. Vicente Salas involved as well. And 2 major playoff drivers involved in that accident. Watching Busa here in the 75. He's behind where all of this kicks off and nearly got sideswiped there for the 21, but somehow he finds a hole. He'll have a shot at redemption in the championship fight in 2021. Keegan Leahy emphatically dominates tonight at Bristol and will lock himself in to the championship four.
All right, really glad to be here with our panel of drivers, Brandon Cattell, Chris Overland, Michael Grillia. How you doing this evening, fellas?
Hey guys. Doing good.
Man, Talladega week, Cattell, it's time.
Talladega, man. I love Talladega.
You and me would have plenty of long nights working on the setup, and it never mattered, did it?
It's
Except
a
that
shame
one
we're
time.
not out there.
Except
Chris,
last year.
Don't forget, Chris, you're the windmaster of the Super Speedway tracks.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
As I mentioned, only 2 spots up for grabs in the championship four. Actually, Keegan Leahy tweeted earlier today, pressure's off for me, just gonna go out and win this. Congratulations to Keegan in the 23-11 team who clinched a spot in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship 4. But Leahy would have been in a rough spot if he didn't have that Bristol win, as he was 8th in the standings before that. Here's a look at the driver standings headed into round 17. The urgency for some of these drivers is even greater, huh, Michael?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you look at it so far, playoff drivers are 2 for 2 as far as wins are concerned in the playoffs so far. And there's only 2 spots left. And I'm looking at some of these guys like Michael Conti, Jimmy Mullis, some of these guys who've had some rough races the past few days. These guys are going to need to step it up at Talladega, one of the craziest and most chaotic races of the playoffs, where a lot of it's out of your control, Chris.
Well, yeah, that's a big part of it. It's a big factor of it. And I know 2 things. Desperation and Talladega do not mix. If you've got some desperate drivers here trying to make it into the Final Four, and honestly, my bet is with the statistics, we've got over half the field that isn't in the playoffs. I think it's one of them that wins tonight, and it's going to be points that make the difference.
All right, on your screen now, the team standings headed into the virtual Talladega. Chris, your thoughts here?
Well, 23-11 is right around the corner of locking in. As long as they don't make any mistakes tonight, they're going to be our team standing champions. And, you think about it, Mitchell DeYoung got off to a little bit of a slow start while Keegan was dominating. Keegan had his little slump while Mitchell got his footing right, and now they're both clicking at the right time, and they're going to be fighting for a Final Four spot tonight. I know Keegan and Bobby have already locked it up. Mitchell, not quite.
Yeah, Chris. When I really look at this right now at the point standings, team standings, I see really only the top 4 that have a chance right now. I mean, something significant has to happen to Denny Hamlin's 2311 Racing. I really don't see Mitchell and Keegan having a bad race tonight. If they do, Tony Stewart's team, Storehouse Racing, they're gonna have to finish real good to even have a shot at Texas to even remotely think they can win the championship.
Hey, you remember that one year they in the Cup Series where they were 1, 2, 3, 4 and just pulled away from everybody?
That's
Maybe
very
we'll see
true.
something like that tonight.
You never know.
Yeah.
Possibly could.
But definitely take a look at that. 146 points left for the teams to score. So we're looking at the top 5 for that championship, guys. Definitely something to look at. All right, just as we talked about, every race counts. Now let's get the thoughts on round 16 at Bristol from our panel of drivers. Chris, you're saying every position on track matters when the checkers wave.
Yeah, you know, I like I said, you know, it's the law of averages. There's 30 drivers who don't have a playoff spot who are going to be racing tonight with nothing to lose and everything to gain. That first win or that win to break out a long season that was somewhat disappointing. Anybody can win this race, so it's going to come down. I think it's going to come down. The last 2 spots are going to be points, and everything you've done in these first 2 rounds are going to make a huge difference. One name that sticks out to me, Matt Busa. Matt Busa was not a factor all year. He was consistent, though, and he maintained that throughout these playoffs, and he finds himself only 8 points back. You know what 8 points is at Talladega? Probably 0.2 of a second. So if he can make up 8 points on Logan Clampett and one of these playoff drivers doesn't win tonight, Matt Busa is going on to race for $100,000. And honestly, that's a good feeling.
Yeah. All right, Michael, let's talk some scenarios here.
Yeah, I mean, we look at it. There's still 4 spots for the finale at Texas, but there's only going to be 1 more spot left available for winning, but there's going to be one that points their way in, whether we have a winner tonight that's in the playoffs or not. I mean, Chris already talked about it. Matt Busa, he was one of those guys that came into the playoffs with a little bit on the outside looking in on that Final Four, but he's been consistently working his way through some solid finishes at Bristol and Darlington to start the playoffs, and he's put himself in contention for that Final Four just on his finishes alone. Not even worrying about getting that win, just putting together some solid races while competitors like Jimmy Mullis and a few others that have had some bad races, some wrecks, some bad runs. So it's all going to come down to it, but no matter what, someone is going to point their way in and consistency is going to pay off.
Definitely. But Brandon, let's talk about the must-win situations.
So these are the people that you really have to watch out for tonight, guys. Jimmy Mullis, Michael Conti, Bob Bryant. These guys they're laying everything on the line for this last race tonight at Talladega. Michael Conti is basically out of it now. He there's no way I think he can point himself in tonight without a win. As we see Bob Bryant on the screen here, Bob squeaked his way into the playoffs. Man, if he could squeak his way right into the championship four to fight for the $100,000 at Texas, that would be really cool to see.
That's another thing really quickly, Brandon, about Bob Bryant. Bob Bryant has been wrecked in both races, and he's managed to come back both times, and he's still got a shot to point his way in.
Hey,
Bob, don't be disappointed. Whatever happens, you still have a shot going into Dega.
And another thing, Chris, Bob almost won Talladega last year, so anything can happen.
From him.
Anything could happen. Also, another thing, anything could happen with the fans out at Talladega looking to try their hands at some iRacing too. Fans, if you're looking to do that, Allied Esports and NASCAR teamed up to bring the gaming activations your way by way of an 80-foot mobile gaming arena. This rig will be out at the Talladega Super Speedway and at all of the tracks throughout the rest of the NASCAR seasons during the playoffs. The arena includes a main stage, broadcaster booth, roof deck, full production capabilities, as well as iRacing simulators. Our very own Chris Overland and Brandon Cattell checked it out, showed off their skills. Now you can get a chance to check it out. And I think we got some video from the rig out at one of the tracks. Let's go ahead and roll that.
It's so cool what NASCAR is doing just with video games and gaming and sim racing esports. It's really remarkable how much it's changed over the last couple of years to now.
I guess as close as I'm going to get to the real thing. So I kind of like the feedback of the wheel fighting you and fighting the looseness and the tightness of the car.
Having it at the racetrack is important, I think, not only for me because I want to go out there and I want to compete with people I've never met before, but for people who haven't tried it before, it's a great way to expose them to the technology and things that they aren't normally exposed to. People walk by video game shelves all the time and they don't bat an eye at it, but you see a big motion simulator like we have set up here, and it really draws attention to it, and it's going to bring in a lot of new fans.
It's a lot of fun for the fans that can't afford to do it, the folks that are trying to learn and get into it.
I did pretty good. It was like something I've never done before. It was my first time, and it was really cool.
Yeah, very cool indeed. Glad that that's out there. It's actually going to be at the track this weekend in Talladega. And as I mentioned, at the track through the rest of the playoffs this weekend in Talladega. Confirmed driver appearances by Ray Alfala and Zach Novak. So make sure you get out there, say hello to some of those eNASCAR drivers, and enjoy some iRacing on your own. Clint, Brandon, and Chris both said it was absolutely incredible. So looking forward to getting out there and checking it out. All right, now joining us on Countdown to Green, a third-year team owner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, former Cup Series driver, Clint Boyer. Clint, how are you doing? Thanks so much for joining us on Countdown to Green. Where are you joining us from?
First of all, thanks for having me. And to answer your question, I had to have two. When you have a son that races, right, you can't just show up with one. But we have, I guess you'd call it a party barn. I mean, anybody that knows me knows I'm going to have a party barn. And I had to put them just like everybody's sim, right? Every man has his thoughts on where his sim ought to be, close to the bedroom. That way you can just slide right into bed when you're exhausted after being on it all night long. And eventually, just like every married man, it gets pushed into the garage and then eventually clear over in the barn, which is where Cash and I have to go to battle it out. But my dirt guys, and they're over here tonight, and we was ripping. We was just actually racing the street stock race here, which is by far my favorite. That's where you came from, man. It's funny, that's what I love about iRacing is no different than anything in life. For whatever reason, we all kind of morph back into what we were, where we came from. And certainly a 78 street stock Camaro was where I got my start and cut my teeth. So that's what I love racing on here.
All right, that explains both of those setups. Clint, you said you and Cash like to duke it out. We actually saw him on your rig not too long ago. Is he any good at iRacing?
Well, he got caught sneaking over here the other day and entered a race on his own and came over and got he got kicked, and we were trying to figure out he got kicked off. So I feel sorry. I know that is against the rules and that shouldn't have happened. He got in trouble, by the way, and that's why his machine is turned off right now because he got grounded. So whoever it was that he ran over the other day with old Clint Boyer on the dang hood of it, I apologize to whoever that guy was. But nonetheless, that was a 6-year-old literally standing on the gas because he can't reach the pedals on my rig that ran you over.
All right. Yeah, you got to clear your name. That's quite all right. I think Denny has the same problem where he backtracks and clears his name too. That's all right. You've been involved with in giving iRacing champions, including the World of Outlaws iRacing Championship, the opportunity to drive your car. How real is the transition from virtual to the real world?
I can tell you how real they were. The kid that won that championship had never been in a race car. I put him in my race car, and he went out at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Not only did he set a really fast lap, I'm going to tell you, wrecked the car and somehow kept it out of the wall. He got crossed up off of 2, and I'm like, oh, God, there he goes. And literally from what he, learned on iRacing he kept it out of the wall, kept it going, and about 4 laps later, he's hammered down and ran every bit as fast as I could on the thing. Could not believe it. The kid had never been in a race car, never done anything other than iRace, and it's not the only time I've ever seen that happen.
All right. Thanks so much, Clint. Real pleasure to have you here on Countdown to Green. Look forward to hearing from you more during our broadcast this evening of the race. Clint Boyer, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. All right, on to my favorite segment here on Countdown to Green. We get a glimpse of your world. We love all the drivers out there showing off their sim rigs. This segment is brought to you by Logitech. Here's a look at more rigs for the archive. Are you ready, fellas?
I'm ready.
I'm excited.
Let's
look
do
at
this.
this one, guys.
Let's
You
do
talk
nice
about Clint
monitors.
being in a barn. This looks like it's in a barn.
I know.
Yeah.
That's great.
I love it. You make do with what you got. And
That
sometimes
teal
you got
chair.
A barn.
I feel like that's a 90s teal chair.
Here's
Alright.
David Thomas. I think we've got a streamer here. You see that ring light? I think I bought that same one.
I feel like that's a caution string, too.
Look at all the data he has on that top monitor. There's a lot going on there at Lime Rock, huh?
Yeah, my eyes are too bad. I can't have all that going on.
Whoa.
Oh, this one's pretty cool. We got a
Yeah.
Kevin
Harvick
Harvick
fan.
We should ask Doovie what he thinks about Chase Elliott.
Ooh, spicy. I like it.
Doovie. Yeah, that's a great one.
I
He's
like the PVC piping that he used to build his rig. This one's cool.
Now that's a proper single-seater style chair right there. It's almost like it's straight out of like a Opel car.
Those are some thick monitors.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
they are.
everything else in the room is under construction, but at least he's got the rig set up, right?
Yeah,
Priorities.
It looks like it's in a basement. Look at the walls. in the
You know, he's got his priorities set, guys.
back.
House isn't even built, sim rig setup. And then
Oh
this
man,
guy,
is that
Justin,
a car seat?
Justin pulled it right out of his car. Is it sitting on a cardboard
Wow.
box?
It
Who
is.
needs a passenger? You don't need a passenger. No.
Now this looks like my setup. My monitors are set up exactly the same.
Now I wonder if he takes his chair and puts it back in his car. When he goes
If he has a date, the girl has to sit in the back because the sim rig is in the. Oh man,
I think
love
that's
that.
great.
I love
That's a
that.
great custom build.
And then
All right.
here we have Matthew Cucker. He's got the triple monitor set up with a 7th monitor up on the top. That is insane. One of the Road to Pro drivers we raced with this year, guys.
Yep.
Man, I wonder how much that thing costs. I mean, that's a lot just alone by itself for the one, not let alone two.
If he wrecks out, he could just hop in the other one.
Yeah,
Exactly.
have it ready to go.
Double
Whoa.
decker.
What is this?
Now,
This
this
is like
is-
cyberpunk.
Steve
Awesome.
Hamilton, I'm loving this setup. Look at all the colors.
You know, he's a true iRacer because you see right above that monitor in the center, he's got that fan blowing right
Yeah,
at
it's getting hot. It's hot in there.
That's incredible.
Tommy is packed away in the corner. Oh, this is Blake Reynolds. Ew. No, I'm just kidding.
Now,
Blake,
this is
we love
Blake's
you.
new rig that he's got, and he took a few days to put this thing together.
That's
and
incredible.
Look,
Great work.
look at the stanchion just to set up that top monitor that's in the back of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive. I'm gonna have to take the drive over there and see that rig in
All right,
person.
now this is Tommy. Tommy's got a
Oh,
duck
the duck.
riding
no,
with him. And look at the painting too.
This
This
is
is-
Tommy. Tommy
this
is
is
in
great.
his sim rig.
Look at the. He's got ducks behind the TV too. He's a fan
Tommy-
of ducks. This
He's
is cool.
enthusiast.
Is he
Tommy
sponsored by
can't reach the
Aflac?
pedals.
Maybe.
All right, what's our next one? Here we got Clint
Ah,
Boyer. Oh, that's
and
Oh,
then-
there
right.
it is. Is that
We know-
where
we
the
know all
incident
too
happened?
well.
Is that where he ran that guy over?
I think so.
Must be. This is the scene of the crime, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man,
Amazing.
Clint,
You
don't put him
can
in your
see.
car yet.
He really can't touch the pedals, so there you go. His story stacks up. Here's
don't
the
know.
evidence.
It's like an alibi. I didn't wreck him, Dad.
All right, I
pedals,
love it. Exactly. I love it every single week. Thanks so much, everyone who shared your sim rigs. We love showing them off. Share yours too by tweeting us a picture using the hashtag eNASCAR and tag iRacing and NASCAR. All right, let's talk some relegation. What happens to the bottom 20 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series? The guys will explain how it all works, the battle for the top 20, who's staying in, who's not. Michael, break it down for us.
Yeah, we're going into that time of the year where we talk about relegation, and it's coming up close for some of these guys. You look at the graphic on your screen right here. The bottom 20 in the Coke Series standings at the end of the season will go down into the Contender Series alongside the top 20 qualifiers from the qualifying series for Road to Pro. So those guys feed into the same series in the Contender Series, and it's a very fast grind in the month of November. 5 races, almost back to back to back, 5 weeks in a row, will determine who is the bottom half that will join the top 20 in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola standings in next year's field in 2022. And then guys, we know this grind. We've been here before. There's some guys that have already clinched into the Road to Pro that are close to it. And there's some guys in the Coke Series that are on the verge of solidifying themselves in the Contender Series. We've been on both sides of the coin, making it and falling out. It's different how it works.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
grind, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely a grind, Chris. When I think about just how hard it is to get into the series, some of these guys are going to be right on the bubble, like Ray Alfala, not Chris Overland, he's not in the series. Jake Nichols. These guys, they're going to be fighting for every point they can possibly fight for tonight just to make it into the top 20. This is a big battle going to Texas. It's a big deal to make this series, guys.
Yeah, and every time we would go through the Contender Series and we'd make it through, I'd go into the new Coke Series season feeling revitalized. I'd get my confidence back because the competition is strong, but it's not quite the top level of sim racing, but it's right underneath it. So you can do that. You can revitalize your career, or you can end up on this pre-race show.
Yeah, I mean, sure, we're relegated to the pre-race show, but we get to sit back and watch all this. And the fact that there are some heavy hitters in that bottom 20. You mentioned Ray Alfala. There's some drivers that have won races in the bottom 20 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series standings. And there's some former Coke Series drivers in the Road to Pro ranks that are going to be on the verge of clinching come this Thursday at Phoenix for the finale of that Road to Pro season. So there's a lot still to play for on both ends of the spectrum, and it all comes to a head in November. So it'll be something to watch for sure.
And hey, you know, you have all year, you had a bad season, you just want to go out there and finish the season and get started on Contender Series, you go and win Talladega.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thanks for breaking it down for us, guys. Really looking forward to that battle in Phoenix this week, the Road to Pro finale. Thanks so much. All right, tonight the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series takes on the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. We turn to Brandon Cattell for track analysis.
All right, guys, you know I love Talladega. I won this race last year. I'm going to just throw it out there because I've said it a million times on the broadcast this year. Talladega, 33 degrees of banking. It was opened in 1969. Big Bill wanted something better than Daytona, something bigger, just had bigger banking, faster. So he made Talladega in Lincoln, Alabama. And here we are, guys. Just a quick little note that I want to take tonight. It's not always great to qualify in the pole here because the pit exit is right at the end of the line. So if you come out of pit road, you could possibly lose the lead just by not getting up to pit road speed and having a good shot off pit road. And another thing I'd like to point out today, guys, it's Talladega. Everything is out the window.
Yeah, it's not only Talladega, it's the last race to get into that championship four. Anything could happen. Stakes are high, pressure's on, am I right?
Brandon just threw away his 2022 pre-race show contract.
I just did.
Hey, he is on the bubble for Road to Pro.
Yeah, we wish you the best of luck.
That's all right. All right, before the action on the track tonight, let's hear who our panel of drivers thinks is going to park it in victory lane. This is our final driver picks. I want to tell everyone that, including Chris, who just got the memo. Our driver picks are brought to you by Playseat, the official racing chair of eNASCAR. Brandon, we'll start with you.
All right, guys, it's Talladega. You got to pick the 8 car. Michael Conti, Junior Nation, guys.
All right, I put my money where my mouth is. I've been picks this year. I picked that we'd have 10 different winners by playoff time. I've made so many countless things. I said that it didn't matter where you were in points or who you were. You could win Talladega. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Brian Schoenberg in the 47 is going to win tonight, and I'm risking the entire championship on it. Schoenberg, please.
Hey, do not sleep on Schoenberg.
He's always
going to get it done.
They didn't tell me the points ended tonight. I picked Schoenberg. You gotta come through, man. I'm begging you.
Well, I want to point out, at Kansas, I had a 40-point lead over these guys, and now I'm at almost a 40-point deficit. Just like Cattell, I have to throw the paper out the window. Everything's out the window. I have to go with the winner, or I'm done. And that's going to be Logan Clampett. For William Byron Esports, he's going to put that Chevy Camaro in victory lane and solidify his way into the Final Four at Texas in 2 weeks' time.
Hey, quick little note, guys. None of us picked Malik Ray, and I think he's the best super speedway racer out there currently in the series. So
that's a good
just
point.
Want to think about that.
Yeah,
I'm an idiot for not picking him.
Brad Davies too. You said you got to go with the 8 at Talladega. I mean, Junior drove the 88.
Maybe the 88. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Hey, best of luck to all you guys. I'm excited for our show finale in 2 weeks to hear how this all pans out. It's going to be exciting for sure. All right, to calling tonight's race, NASCAR NBC analysis, former crew chief and team owner of Letarte Esports, Steve Letarte joins us here on Countdown to Green. Really glad to have you here. As a former crew chief, how are these drivers strategizing? How are you strategizing going into tonight's race?
Well, every time we went to a speedway race, I think the best chance to running well and run is staying up front. So when you look at your pit strategy, I think you really need to attack the pit as few times as possible, just a couple pit stops, and act like track position matters. Everybody talks about speedway racing and how you can go from the back to the front, but those secrets are gone. It's going to be 2 wide, probably 3 wide. It gets clogged up. I think the best chance to win this race and the best chance to avoid the melee is to run in the front 2 or 3 rows. So be aggressive early and then keep your track position once you get it.
So Steve, you worked with a guy who's had a lot of success at super speedway tracks in the past. What can you do as a crew chief? I know once you get out on the racetrack and you're not worried about pit stops anymore, there's not much you can do. But what can you do as a crew chief to help motivate your driver throughout, maybe the last 20 laps of the race when he's not coming back down pit road?
I think the most important thing is to understand when it's time to motivate, when it's time to keep patient. If you're not in the position to attack, make sure he knows there's still a long time to go. Make sure he knows he's not out there by himself riding around. And the other thing is maybe just tell him what you're seeing. He only has the mirror in the windshield. So if somebody in the back is making moves, if there's moves that are working, let him know. If the top line's organizing, the spotter should be working on that, but you can help as well. I mean, you're a racer. You're watching. While you might not be a driver, you're a racer, and you've seen moves work. So give as much information as you can, and then at some point, you open a water, put your feet up, and turn into a race fan, and hope it all works out.
Well, Steve, hopefully it'll work out for 2 of your drivers tonight in Chris Shearburn and Bobby Zielinski. Obviously, Bobby's already clinched his way into Texas in the Final Four, but Chris Shearburn's still looking at that relegation line. What's the strategy going to be like for your 2 drivers tonight?
Well, Chris had a good run last night in one of the practice races. He sent me a text and said maybe this is either good luck or bad luck that I've used up a win already. That's really what we're looking about is the relegation for Chris. He's been my driver since Letarte Esports was created. Bobby's done a great job joining the team this year, but we'd love to give Chris kind of the month of November off, and that's really the point is I have 100% confidence that he gets relegated. He can race his way back in, but it is, as you guys just mentioned a couple segments ago, the pressure to get yourself back into the Coke Series is high. A couple bad runs and you can be completely relegated. So we just want to be aggressive. I think at this point, you don't try to protect points. We're 17 points behind the cutoff line for relegation. Go out and attack, try to make other drivers uncomfortable.
Steve, I got to ask you, how much of it is a relief that Bobby made the Final Four for next week? I know Talladega is the biggest worry for any team owner out there. How much of a relief is it, man?
Oh, it's spectacular. Not only a relief, but to win the first of the playoff races really allows Bobby and his group to really focus on that championship race. Most of our time is going to be focused forward there. And I think that is, you guys know how much time going into these setups. So the fact that they haven't really had to spend a lot of time on Talladega, they didn't really even have to spend a lot of time last week or the last race. So the fact that he's already won, we've been able to focus forward. And really at this point, it's enjoy Talladega if it's possible. Let's just relax and have a good time.
All right, we will be enjoying it, and you enjoyed as well. Steve's going to be calling the race tonight with Evan Pasoko in the booth. Thanks so much, Steve, for your time. We'll talk to you in just a little bit. Fans looked for him a little bit. Remember, tweet us a picture of your rigs and your playoff brackets. We want to show them off here on Countdown to Green. For everyone behind the camera that brings this show to life, and my panel of drivers, Chris Overland, Michael Guerrilla, and Brandon Cattell, who will be pulling double duty tonight as our pit reporter. Thanks for joining us on Countdown to Green. The road to crowning the 21 champion is narrowing. Round 17 at the virtual Talladega Superspeedway starts now.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
I am sweet. The taste, the smell, It's winning, and there's nothing quite like it. And now, a win is even sweeter, because a win means you move on. That much closer to playoffs glory. I am what we do this for. To be remembered forever as champion. I am the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series playoffs. I am NASCAR.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. When you're ready to know what it's like, we're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. With a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
I'm on the mission, snap any minute, casually winning. Stop tripping on me, stop dissing on me. I got a dream, can't take it from me. Gotta get it here, I don't wanna wait. Take what I want, then I go train. Gotta get a win, I won't lose the game. This is my year, I ain't gonna break. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here.
The road to $300,000 has reached its penultimate battle, where tonight, for the virtual Talladega Superspeedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the last race of round one for the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs. Well, as always, we're so happy that you're spending a Tuesday night with us here on the iRacing Esports Network, and as always, streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Joined by Daytona 500 champion crew chief Steve Letarte and eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series competitor Blake McCandless at the booth tonight. And Steve, we've been talking about this all month. We know what tonight means. There's only 2 tickets left into Texas.
Well, there is 2 tickets left into Texas, Evan. I guess you're right. I think we got Steve now. Steve, you there?
Hey, listen, you know, technology's never been my strongest.
Speechless. That's how much
Over
pressure.
at NBC, they have people that turn my mics on and off. I'm kind of learning new to this iRacing broadcast, but you mentioned it. Listen, the pressure is here. It's no different than the guys in the regular Cup Series that are going to Talladega this weekend. The last thing you want to do is go to a place with so much unpredictability to keep your playoff chances alive. It's no different in the eNASCAR series. I'm just thankful the one driver we had in the playoffs has qualified in. I get to sit back, commentate, and enjoy the race.
Zelensky and Leahy are safe, and this is a situation, Blake, that you're very familiar with, right? You're going to have to deal with an elimination race just in 2 days on the road to pro side of things. So from a driver, no pressure by the way, but from a driver's perspective, right? We're coming into a race. I mean, Talladega's tough enough as is, but you have that cut where there's some drivers who know their fate a little bit more, right? A guy like a Michael Conti, way down at the bottom, he kind of knows, listen, I'm probably going to have to win this race, but there's other drivers who are single digits out or close enough. I mean, how does a driver tackle this and try to get in?
Well, Evan, it's pretty simple. I know I talked to Parker Kligerman about his driver, Bob Bryant, coming into this race. He said, leave with no regrets. You have to be aggressive. You don't want to go on wondering if a move you made early in the race or late in the race is going to be the difference. So being aggressive, especially for someone like Bryant or any of these guys, Michael Conti, that are pretty much in a must-win situation tonight.
We're excited for 250 miles of action tonight. So to get things started, let's hand things over to Talladega Superspeedway track president Brian Crichton for the most famous words in motorsports to get us underway.
I'm Brian Crichton, president of Talladega Superspeedway. Good luck to all the drivers in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship Cutoff Race. This is more than a race. This is Talladega. Drivers, start your engines!
It is time for Talladega, the great equalizer. Flat out, elbows out, anything can happen racing here at this 2.6 mile super speedway. There are 2 spots unspoken for in the championship 4. Win tonight and you're in. Make the points cutoff and you're in. Everything to gain and everything to play for here in the heart of Alabama. Ladies and gentlemen, here are your 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoff drivers. Already locked into the championship 4 with a win at Darlington, he's hoping to survive here tonight in Talladega. In the number 83 Letard Esports Chevrolet out of Fresno, California, it's Bobby Zelensky. From Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, this driver called his shot last week and raced his way into the championship 4. Looking for 2 in a row, it's the driver of the number 32 2311 Toyota Camry, Keegan Leahy. 15 points to the good of the cutoff line, he just needs a solid run, but why not head into the championship 4 on a high note? Hailing from Temecula, California, the number 23 2311 Toyota Camry, it's Mitchell DeYoung. From Concord, North Carolina, driving the number 97 William Byron Esports Chevrolet with a runner-up performance at Bristol. He's sitting pretty in the point standings, trying to race his way into the final 4. It's Logan Clampett. Your first driver on the outside looking in and looking to make a statement here tonight at Talladega. Piloting the number 75 Ford Mustang for Mode Motorsports and representing Darien, Illinois, it is Matt Busa. Another driver very close to the all-important points cutoff. Driving the number 10 Stuart Haas Racing Ford, trying to race for $100,000 from Houston, Texas, it's Graham Bolin. Waving the flag for Space Station Gaming from Temecula, California, trying to rocket his way to the front tonight and claim his spot in the Championship 4, driver the number 55 Ford Mustang, it is Vicente Salas. Driving the number 46 Toyota out of Midland, North Carolina. Not getting the finish he was looking for at Bristol. He's trying to turn it around into a championship bid tonight. It's Richmond Raceway Esports' own Jimmy Mullis. Coming into the banks of Talladega, he's got one more shot to get it done. In the number 77 Klickerman Sport Chevrolet from Biloxi, Mississippi, it is fan favorite Double B Bob Bryant. From Concord, North Carolina, driving the number 8 Junior Motorsport Chevrolet. He is the only driver to win on a super speedway so far this year and needs to do it again to guarantee his spot in the Championship 4. Trying to make it 2-time, it's Michael Conti. This is the final race before the championship finale in Texas. Anything can happen in 94 laps here at Talladega. For 8 drivers tonight, it's win and you're in. One will be making it to the finals on points. There's so many storylines here tonight, with Dega being the final chapter. Who will be getting a chance to race for $100,000? Who will be going home? The 3rd round of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series for the Talladega Super Speedway starts now.
Well, thanks so much, Keenan. We are ready to go racing for the 17th time of this year. Let's go trackside and take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. For the 2nd time of this season, Vicente Salas will bring us to the green flag as the only playoff driver in the top 10, joined on the front row by Jake Nichols. Ray Alfala, Dylan Duvall going to round out through row number 2, and Garrett Maines has got a top 5 car.
JC Garrett Lowe in row 3 will start next to Garrett Maines. You mentioned it, no more playoff guys inside the top 10. Casey Curran, Michael Guest make up row 4. We look back row 5, Malik Ray. A lot of talk about Malik Ray and his speedway skills. We'll see if they show up tonight.
I think they certainly will, Steve. And you look at Mitchell DeYoung, been a qualifying ace all season long. He'll be rolling off from the inside of road number 6. Another couple of drivers in Steven Wilson and Chris Shearburn. Not in the championship fight tonight. There's Bobby Zelensky. He doesn't have a whole lot to worry about tonight, Evan. He's already locked into the championship 4.
There's more playoff drivers in the 20s than there are inside of the top 20, because you got Matt Busa right there starting in the number 23 spot, but he's got a little bit of a leg up over the likes of Michael Conti, who starts 26th tonight. Jimmy Mullis 27th, with Logan Clampett 28th, and the last year playoff cars, Bob Bryant way down in the number 31 position. You'll take a look through it all the way goes to the likes of Schoenberg, Nichols, Luza, and Ottinger, some of the other guys through your field. That's a look top to bottom at your Coca-Cola starting grid. All right, Steve, we'll toss things back over to you. You're chatting with our pole sitter tonight. The last time Vicente was on pole, he led every single lap and won a race at Richmond. A win could do a lot for the driver, who is 15 points below the cut line coming into tonight.
Hey, Vicente Stilatart up in the booth. First of all, congratulations on the pole in 8th place, all the way back at Daytona to start the season. You know, the restrictor plate race. I know that was a long time ago. The package has changed a little bit. What's the confidence heading into the evening?
I feel really good. I think our car is really, really solid. We're just going to have to stay up at the front and see what we can get at the end.
All right, you said stay up at the front. That's the question. How aggressive are you willing to be all day long? How much are you willing to put on the line to keep that track position?
Honestly, this is kind of where my season meets. If we win the race, if we get good points, we make it to the Final Four at Texas, and if we don't, we don't. So I think all's to play for, and we're going to try and keep it.
All right, man. Well, good luck. Good luck. We'll be watching, commentating in 94 laps between you and the playoffs.
Thank you guys so much.
Your pole sitter and Blake, I'll toss things back over to you to walk us through this round of 10 finale with a look at our Asus race analysis.
Well, as we take a look at this, Evan, taking a look at this race, what's going to be key is that pit lane delta and the amount of laps, that window 32-35. We may even see it go beyond that depending on how these drivers are packing up. Going to be interesting to watch with a 94-lap race when these drivers decide to pit, what alliances go together, what break apart. All of that's going to be very key to watch.
Defending Talladega race winner Brandon Cattell will be joining us on the pit lane tonight. Brandon, what you got for us?
Thanks, Evan. I just got off the box with Dustin All. He's the crew chief for Logan Clampett. They're already watching the guys that are around him on the points bubble. So a lot of watching right now, guys. A lot of stuff's going to be going on.
And this is going to be one as we take a look at the points over the course of the race where I feel like that points picture is going to change lap after lap. And 250 miles is a long way to go here from Talladega. It seems like the mentality early in these races, Steve, is always to just survive to the end first.
You have to survive, but I really believe it's the one who's aggressive first. Get the track position, make them come and attack you.
We are getting set for the conclusion of this opening round, and we're happy that you're spending a Tuesday night with us here on the iRacing Esports Network. The pace car is down and in. It is Vicente Salas' field to control as we say, let's go playoff racing at Talladega. Good speed, first time. They'll get up through the gears already, 150 miles an hour into turns 1 and 2. Salas got the jump, but he's about a half a car length disconnected from Ray Alfala behind him, and that should give the advantage to the outside. Jake Nichols driving for Kyle Long's Mode Motorsports. He'll go to an early race lead with the push from Dylan Duval, who wants to go down, but that 55 shuts the door, and now Duval is stuck at the inside of 3 wide.
No man's land in the middle, going to lose at least 3 or 4 spots. Squeezes Maine won't let him in. Still stuck in the middle. Little indecision in the back. Now it looks like the momentum's in the middle.
Duval not happy over the radio with that one, asking if these guys are aware it's lap number 1, but I think his dive to the inside was equally as aggressive, and a spinner already. Michael Guest is around, so is Ray Alfala. That came out of nowhere, Blake, but a caution at lap number 2.
Oh boy, we just talked about it. It's lap 1, Evan. What are these guys doing? We heard coming in that guys were going to think about taking it easy early on, but we didn't see that at all. That all started, I believe, around the number 9 machine of Michael Guest. Thought he had enough of a gap to get to the inside. Ray Alfala was waiting for him, but the fact that that did not take out more cars, Evan, I think is pretty surprising because Logan Clampett, he just barely, I believe, missed this accident.
This was around 4th. You're going to see the 9 of Michael Guest try to blend in line, but look between the 55 and the 51. There's really not a car length of room there. And the 9 just tries to make it work, and Alfala didn't cut him a break. Probably could have if he really wanted to, but again, at lap number 1, Steve, it just feels like awfully aggressive. But what did we notice in both the incidents there, right? Duval getting stuck at a line, and right there with the 9 car trying to get to the bottom is that where those incidents came from is there's the look off of the back of Vicente, is that drivers were very aggressively trying to get to the bottom as soon as they could.
Aggression early, but I have to put that one on Michael Guest. I understand he's in the non-preferred groove and he wants to get down, but you just can't make that move. You can't assume the driver's going to let you in. I mean, you see how he's so committed to the top, a good lane and a half off the bottom, and that is a very quick move. Nowhere for him to go, and it is a miracle. It's a small accident. That could have easily been 10 or 15 cars.
Yeah, we'll take some other perspectives. Let's take a look on board with Casey Kerwin for this one. He was a couple of rows back and down in line on the inside. That's Garrett Maines up the road from him. And it's going to be a real late notice, right? When you're on somebody's bumper like this, you really can't see what's happening. There's smoke, and look out. Just sidesteps to the inside of the 51 enough to avoid him. And an early yellow here from Talladega. No major changes towards the front of the field. Nichols at the time of the yellow will be scored as the race leader. So the 24 takes over the top spot, and your pole sitter Vicente Salas does slip down to the number 3 position. That's the only change there. And Steve, Ray Alfalo is in the midst of all of that. You've dialed up the drive of the 51.
Ray Letarte and the guys up in the booth, it looked like an aggressive move by Guest to try to get to the bottom. Looked like nothing you could really do. I'm not sure you had time to let him in if you wanted to.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to let him in. I just stayed in it. Hopefully it turned him for making a stupid move like that. So, I don't know what he was thinking. Just qualify well up front and have that happen. So, we'll deal with it.
All right, we'll let you handle your pit stop right here. Appreciate you taking the time. Listen, I like that aggression out of Ray, and I like the candor, right? He's going to not let him in. He didn't like the move. He stayed in it. Look, we're late in the season. The Final Four is on the line. I think relegation's on the line. Everyone in this race has something to prove, and I think we're going to see more of that tonight, Evan.
It's good to be a little bit feisty. The issue there is you could see when we were talking with Ray there, Blake, that he was on the pit lane for service. You got to stand up for yourself, right? He's a 4-time series champion. We know Ray's not going to be pushed around, but at the same time, as the guys were talking about on Countdown to Green, there's a relegation battle too, right? Ray comes into this on that relegation bubble. He is 20th in the points, and by knocking down in the running order early, as opposed to maybe just cutting a bit of a break and staying P5, now he, in theory, is putting himself behind the 8 ball. So I think there is a balance between holding your ground, not getting pushed around, but also, racing for points.
Well, exactly, Evan, and that's the one thing that we're going to see continue to unfold in this race all night long is the differing agendas. You have the drivers that we've well chronicled that are fighting for a chance to race for a championship. You have guys that, well, guess what? Like you said, they're either right on that cut line or they're well behind it. You also have drivers, maybe like Malik Ray, Nathan Lyon, they know where their fate is right now. So they're just out here to get a win. So there's so many differing agendas, a lot of things to consider for a lot of these drivers, whether you want to lift right there or not. But if I'm Ray Alfalo, I'm probably keeping my foot in the throttle right there.
Second half of that incident was the 9 car of Michael Guest. Steve, you're with him.
Michael Letarte up with the guys up in the booth. Take us through that incident from your perspective.
Yeah, eventually everybody's going to get single file, so I kind of thought Ray was going to let me in there. He didn't, and that was pretty much that. But this race is going to come down to the last stop. That's really what we're looking forward to here.
All right, so just a basic give and take. You thought you'd have a little more space. You thought he would let you in?
Yeah, luckily we didn't get any damage, so at least we're good on this side.
All right, no damage. Still 90 laps to go. We'll see if you can recover. Good luck.
All right, thanks.
I think, interestingly enough, Alfalo may have ended up with more damage after that. You can see the right front a little bit beat up on that 51 machine. So as we get doubled up and get set for restart, we're going to be talking points. And on the right-hand side of your screen is a live look in at the championship as we pace under the yellow flag at lap number 5. That's going to dance all over the place all night long. You can see the immediate result of the 9 car getting turned as he goes all the way down to the bottom. And that's going to hurt him, evidently, of course, because Jake Nichols is currently leading and is not a playoff car. There are currently 2 points positions available into the next round of the championship. And, Blake, that's going to be the big storyline tonight, right? Is if another playoff driver wins, any of those 8 that don't have a win yet, it would leave only 1 spot in on points. So, Mitchell's plus 20. That's not safe. Anything can happen here. But it's a healthier margin than everybody else. Salas, Bolin, and all those guys, they do not want a driver below them to win because it would be awfully harder to chase, Mitchell than it is to just fight with each other.
Absolutely, and look at the right-hand side of your screen, because you're going to want to be watching it all race long. It's going to go up and down. Think about Mitchell DeYoung was 15 up. Logan Clampett was in 5 laps in. Now Clampett's on the outside looking in. So all of that is going to continue to change and unfold throughout this race. It's going to be crazy, and again, because we award points at the end of the race, that's the only opportunity you can get to score them. So you're going to see that change, go up and down. Drivers are going to move around, but of course, not too much going on at the front with just Salas, one of the few playoff drivers there in red on the left side of your screen, who's up in the top 10 right now.
Yeah, notably, you only see 5 names highlighted in red on the left-hand side of your screen. There's only half of the playoff cars currently running inside of the top 20. The other half of them ride at 22, 23, 24, 26, and 28. So they all have some work to do. That's going to be Conti, Clampett, Mullis, Busa, and Bryant in the back half of the field. Let's run on board here with Casey Kerwin. He's on the inside of row number 3 for this restart. Field is in control of the number 24 car, Jake Nichols on the inside, alongside with Garrett Lowe. 5 laps down at Talladega. Long way to go, and the green flag is back in the air. Pulling 3 car lengths on the run down the Alabama gang back straightaway early. The 21 of Garrett Lowe 2 steps his way down to the inside to make the advantage of 4 cars down low, as Garrett Means is not getting a lot of help up top.
I'm really shocked at just a fight for the bottom. I expect to see a little bit more too wide, but you heard when we talked to Guest, he wasn't happy about the accident, but he was confident that that was the move he needed to make. He thought if he remained in the outside, he would continue to lose spots. And here we are. We see, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars single file on the bottom leading this pack.
Garrett Means was 4th at the restart. He is 9th already, Blake. I mean, he falls like a rock as we take a look with the iRacing drone cam, and there's only 3 left up there. Garrett Means, Ryan Doucette, and Keegan Leahy. Everybody else has abandoned ship down to the inside. There's going to be a small gap here. Leahy is going to take it. I don't know if the 79 and the 2 will find that space, though.
Well, Evan, I think you look back on the eNASCAR Pro Invitational Series race that happened at Talladega. I was able to spot James Davison during that race, and you really just had to go where everybody else went. For now, I guess the drivers have decided that that's the bottom. They could be in the middle. They could be at the top like we oftentimes see at Talladega in the real world. But for now, they've decided to go to the bottom, and if you're somebody like Ryan Doucette, Kane Cook right now, those few drivers that are in the outside, oh man, Doucette's going to be 3 wide here. That is a terrible position to be in. Middle 3 wide and no help. He's going to drop like an anchor through the field.
Not a very good position for him. He was a top 10 car when we restarted this race, and it has gone very, very much the wrong direction. Already dropping outside of the top 20. And maybe even further on down the running order. So, tough break for him. He loses the game of roulette, inside or outside lane. He ends up top, and you can see towards the back of the field. I mean, the outside's not going to be totally gone, right? You're not going to get everybody, all 40 cars, to agree on running the bottom. So, the guys back here are going to build up some speed, Steve. And if that outside gets a run, then guys will start to jump off the bottom, right, and go up top. But they don't really want to be the ones to start it. So, they'll let the guys back here in the teens and the 20s do the heavy lifting. And then once that outside gets some momentum behind it, then maybe other drivers will join them.
Well, no surprise who we see on the outside. I see the 8 of Conti back in there, and he knows he has to go, even though there's still 80-something laps to go in this race. He just can't go to the bottom and commit and cruise around. He has to make something happen. He's last in points. He has to find a win, and he knows that he needs to be the aggressor. So why not be the guy towing the outside lane?
Looks like about a dozen cars or so now have jumped up into the outside lane. Of course, they are all chasing right now the number 67 machine of Alan Bowes. A different look on that McLaren Shadow entry for this race. Bowes all the way up to 13th in the running order, and Keegan Leahy, who we just saw diving to the bottom, thought about joining the outside there. He opts to tuck back in line, though, and drivers on the outside line about 2 to 3 tenths of a second faster that last lap the cars that are just holding their position on the inside. Now, if you're in the top 5 on the bottom, easy decision. You want to be down low, but it's these guys around 10th in that bottom lane. If you don't go up top at all, you're not going to make up spots. So if you're not joining them, you're banking on this run to eventually simmer down and kind of fizzle out. Let's bring Clint Boyer back into the conversation. Clint, appreciate you giving us all the time on Countdown to Green and here during the race. Of course, you've got 2 drivers competing in the field here this afternoon. I got to ask, what does it mean to you to be a part of this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series?
First of all, let's think about it. How cool is it that we have a series, a true racing series, just like that follows our cup, tracks as we go about the season, that races online every single night, that we have, I think Letard broadcasts the damn thing, for crying out loud, which, by the way, super pisses me off how I'm sure he's weaseled his way into something. And Clint's never been asked to do anything, right? Pandemic hits, we need Clint. Now nothing's good, what Steve will do. So I don't know how he got the gig, but it kind of bums me out. Nonetheless, it's awesome that there's a series. It's awesome that it's as competitive as it is. Go back to my Blake story. I mean, I watch them all the time, and I'm just in awe, the realness of, not only the characteristics of the car, the track, the handling and such, but the talent of the guys. I mean, it's pretty insane what they do, how smooth they are, how consistent they are. I got on here and I do it for fun. This is something that I do for fun, and those guys do it for, real and racing in a series. Some of them even making some money doing it now. So I think it'll only get bigger. I think I'm proud to be a part of it. Obviously, don't think that. I'm definitely proud to be a part of it from day one. And I'm excited to see where it goes, because I know it's only going to go up.
This is a big night for the series as well. We're talking about setting a championship for it, but it's tough because it's Dega as well, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about some of those challenges that you've had to fight through to find success at a racetrack like this.
Hardest part about Talladega by far is the patience aspect of it, getting to the end of the thing. Everybody knows you got to be there to win it and when the time's right. And then situational, getting yourself in that right situation where you've got the guy, maybe you're not the fastest car, right? That's the thing about those super speedway tracks. You don't always win with the, playing offense with the fastest car. You can play defense and win those races. And that's what's cool about it and an interesting aspect of those. The defensive side of it, if you're not the fastest car, you better be in front of the fastest car when the time's right. Put him in a situation where he has no choice. If he's going to better himself, it's going to be by pushing you. That's the hardest part about strategizing around those races, is putting yourself in the right situation at the right time at the end of the thing. So always learning, always paying attention to who's making the right moves, who you want to be around. It's not always just one car, right? You want to be around that group of guys that are making the right moves, doing the right things on a timely matter. All those things go into, account to being in a catbird seat when it is. And then Talladega versus Daytona, man, that start finish line clear down there past the tri-oval, that's a big difference. I don't know how many times I've come off of turn 4 and I'm like, I got him. And you're, oh no, here they come with another run out of nowhere, because those runs formulate so fast. That's a huge difference on that last lap. Trying to figure out where you need to be on that racetrack with the magical push. And then, man, old Lady Luck's always got a little bit to do with it. I'm sorry, you can have the fastest hot ride, you can do all the right things. If everything don't go your way, you're not going to be in victory lane.
We appreciate the time, Clint. Thanks for joining us. That is 2-time Talladega winner Clint Boyer joining us on the broadcast as well. Clint, thanks.
Yes, my boys better get them.
Doing a good job. Just trying to stay out of trouble early in this one. And as we pick back up on the action here, guys, the outside is now a pretty dominant lane in the mid-pack. They haven't been able to crack the top 10. You're on board with Jimmy Mullis. He is kind of way back there in 26th position. The outside came with a big head of steam, guys, and then it kind of fizzled out just as quickly. And the inside has the advantage by about, Steve, I'd say 11 or 12 cars right now, as Mullis actually wants to make it 3 wide to the outside.
Yeah, he jumps to the top. I don't know if that was evasive or planned, but going back to taking care of yourself early, let me give you a little heads up. If you want to be careful and take care of yourself early, you want to stay out of Clint Boyer's barn, because that barn does not take care of you. That is a great place to hang out. It was great to have Clint join the broadcast. Took his shots, that's fine. I appreciate it. But it is great to see someone like Clint with so much success at the cup level. I call it giving back to racing. You know, he's got dirt cars, he's got esport cars. It's great to see him on here, and we'll see how his cars do tonight. But as you mentioned, top lane, organized, just still doesn't have enough, right? 10 or 12 cars, it still doesn't have enough, although there's some moving and shaking back there that make me nervous.
There's a lot happening as we are working now. Lap number 17 of 94 in this round of 10 finale. You can see that the 41 machine right there on track. That is Dylan Duval in 6th. And let's go back down to pit road to Brandon Cattell.
Thanks, Evan. I'm walking down pit road here, and I'm hearing lots of chatter about possibly pitting early to separate themselves from the pack. I think Malik Ray and Space Station Gaming is one of them, and also Logan Clampett and William Byron Esports. There's a lot of talk on pit road right now about trying to get into smaller groups to see if they can pull away from the pack.
Well, Blake, this is something that we were talking about pre-race, right? When we were kind of talking amongst ourselves how we thought this race was going to go. And you mentioned that you've been watching some of the races on the sim over the last few days. And that's kind of how these things have gone, right? Drivers want to get to that green flag cycle of pit stop so that they can execute and separate themselves into a bit of a smaller group.
Well, and that's what a lot of these super speedway races come down to, and I think Steve knows it as well. In real life, if you're going to have these long green flag runs, where's the one area at a plate track if everybody's going to be single file? We're not going to have guys darting and making moves right now. Where's the one place that you can make up spots? Pit road. So getting onto pit road when you're coming off of turn 4, you're doing upwards of 200 miles per hour. Some of these guys have a chance for $100,000 on the line next week. That's a lot of pressure, but that is how these drivers are going to try to position themselves and make up those spots. Pit stops, you heard it, Michael Guest say it earlier, are going to be key, obviously, to winning tonight.
Well, Alan Bose is now the lead car on the outside. I mentioned earlier, you may not recognize it right away, those different colors on that McLaren Shadow Chevrolet for the driver of the 67 with Quantum Pay on board. He is leading the outside line at the moment after having jumped up in front of Kane Cook. So they are bump drafting, and there is Alan's view as they race off of turn 2. I mean, the inside real good immediately. They kind of build up a little bit of speed as they push, but not the greatest spot, 22nd at the moment. And then, of course, the second of those cars, the 66 of Blake Reynolds, a little bit further back as well. McLaren had some awfully good-looking race cars over the weekend, but they did not get results in F1 or IndyCar that they deserve. So maybe the McLaren Shadow Chevys could represent here in eNASCAR and get the job done. But right now, both of those drivers are wanting more, trying to be a part of the solution on the outside lane that has only gotten worse and worse over the last 5 laps. I mean, look at all of this on the inside that has been able to space itself out. And as your pole sitter, the 11 car Malik Ray, I should say, teammate to your pole sitter, Vicente's up in 2nd. Of the team car for him in Space Station Gaming is Malik Ray. Kind of quiet, started 9th, but rides in 7th at the moment. Just maintaining track position. I mean, that's, I think, is a lot of what you're going to see as well, Stephen, and Mitchell DeYoung in this race, right? He's right there in P8. He's the guy that's got the bubble, right? He's got the points in his favor. He's playing defense, and that's something that Clint referenced in terms of just racing at Talladega generally, but it's kind of a twofold one for Mitchell, because he has to defend points, and right now, having been a top 10 car for most of this, defend track position.
He does, and that strategy you guys mentioned about splitting it up and pitting a little early, I think opens in about 4 laps or so. And I'm not sure the leaders need to do that. They're very organized. They're running around the bottom. They're running great pace. They're not in very much danger. But if you go back to where it's too wide, even the cars on the bottom are too wide, it's exhausting to run too wide versus single file. I would expect the back 10, 12, maybe even 15 cars try to pit early, and get organized on and off pit road. There's a lot of time to be made up, and that's the best way to leapfrog your competition in a race like this where there's just not a lot of energy or opportunity in the 2nd or 3rd lane.
Almost at quarter distance in this Coca-Cola 250. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. Jake Nichols leading early as we're waiting on pit stops. You're watching the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs at eNASCAR.com.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never taste tasted this good.
I am where visions of grandeur meet grit and fire. A place where drivers discover what they are made of, and fans discover how they made it. I am where you must scrape beyond the surface in order to uncover greatness. Where 12 are whittled down to one, and a champion shines through. I am the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs. I am NASCAR.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. When you're ready to know what it's like, we're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. With a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
Of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By DoorDash, proud sponsor of 2311 Racing. And by Playseat, the official racing chair of eNASCAR. Rookie lap number 25 and pit stops have begun. Steve, you were pretty much right on the money. You said about 4 laps away from that window opening. And as soon as we stepped to go side by side, a group of 7 drivers came down to the pit lane. It's going to have a big swing in those live points on the right-hand side of your screen because that group of 7 included 4 playoff cars. Conti, Bryant, Clampett, and Busa all down pit road, along with Nick Ottinger, John Gorlinski, and Brad Davies. They made the pit stop at about 71 to go. Our Asus race analysis said you could do about 35 on his stint. So looks like those drivers clearly felt like they were in the window to be able to make it for one further stop later in this race and wanted to get away from all this.
Get away from all this and instantly proving to everyone that this was a good idea as the first lap on the racetrack, almost 3 to 4 tenths faster than the leaders of the race. Every lap the leaders stay out there a little less organized, losing time to those 7 cars. So I like what they did. They did a nice job on and off pit road, and now they're just putting up great lap times, which I think is going to force the pack to counter. I think this is that time. We talked in the pre-race. What's the crew chief's responsibility? Well, this is it. You can come in with all the plans you want, but if I'm a crew chief right now, I am working the radio, working the conversations about trying to find some other cars to pit, and here you see a counterattack with another group of cars on pit road.
Yeah, this was funny. This was a crowdsourced pit road decision, Blake. Over the radio, a couple of drivers had started to realize that that pack of 7 cars we were just talking about that had pitted previously were about 4 to 6 tenths of a second faster per lap than that large pack, and they said, hey, they're catching us. Should we get in? A couple of drivers agreed, and we saw about 10 drivers jump down to the pit lane that time to respond.
Well, not only are they making up time on the racetrack, Evan, but if you're pitting right now, you're not filling up all the way on fuel. A lot of these drivers taking 2 tires, maybe filling up not quite full to the 18.7 gallons that these cars hold. So obviously, in a situation where they feel like on one more stop they can make it to the end, but this is when they're taking that opportunity to take a quick pit stop, get 2 tires so they don't have to take tires the rest of the race, and short fuel it so they spend as little time on pit road as possible.
And Vicente Salas missed the box. He overdrove it, slid through his pit stall. He had to put it in reverse for a moment, and that is going to cost him some critical time. He may be one of the lead cars in this pack coming in, and he's going to cycle out at about 4th. Curious if he decided to abandon tires and even go a little bit less on the fuel to counter that mistake. But, I mean, as these guys cycle back out, your current race leaders are in. That's going to be Kerwin pitting with the 41 of Dylan Duval. I mean, they are all sliding the tires to the pit road speed marker here, Steve, 55 miles an hour. We'll take a second look at Vicente sliding through that box, but, you know, the pit lane here, Steve, is not that difficult in the sense of its geometry, right? There's tracks like Darlington, Dover that are much harder just because of the geometry of them, as you see that mistake from Salas to get onto the pit lane here. It's not the same kind of challenge here. The only challenge is, you know, they're sliding through it at that line there just because they're trying so hard to wait to the last second to brake and slow these things down from 190 miles an hour. So it's a different kind of challenge.
It's just so inviting. You came off turn 4 and you have all this time on the flat to look ahead. You see the line. You feel because you can see it that you can get more aggressive. Plus, I think at these consistent speeds, your depth perception gets a little off. These cars just don't slow down the way that you hope they do. And I think every one of these drivers know how important the aggression is to get on and off pit road. And that, unfortunately, is what can happen if you get too aggressive.
I'm also noticing, you know, we talk about that fuel aspect as Casey Kerwin is going to get hit with a speeding penalty on the pit lane. So that is going to take a huge blow to his race. There's now 2 packs, right? Your lead pack of the top 6 is on the top half of your screen. They have yet to pit. The cars at the bottom are the drivers who will cycle through to the race lead. And I'm fairly confident with that assessment, Blake, because you're going to spend anywhere from 30 to 36 seconds on pit road. And they are only right now about 34 seconds ahead of the race leader. So once Femi Olat, Mitchell DeYoung, Steven Wilson, Keegan Leahy, Shearburn, and Zelensky pit, this Nick Ottinger pack that you're looking at the bottom is going to cycle through to the race lead. But the time on pit road was a big difference, right? You talked about less fuel. That group who pitted initially, this Ottinger and Conti group, they only spent 8 seconds in the box at about 30 seconds total on pit road. Everybody else has spent 12 plus seconds in the box and over 34 seconds on pit road. So they were so much quicker on their execution and strategy.
Well, that's where guys like Steve give themselves a pat on the back, right? The crew chief got them the track position. And not only have they been faster, Evan, they continue to be faster. They got off of pit road, every single driver that came down with this strategy, because sometimes when you pit, you see Mitchell DeYoung, Keegan Leahy, Bobby Zelensky heading on to pit road there. Sometimes when you try these strategies, when you see the manufacturers in real life, the Chevrolets, the Fords, the Toyotas all pit together, you'll lose a car or two in the midst of that, and that slows the entire pack down. This first pack that came in, Nick Ottinger and the like, they are together, they're organized, and because of that, they are continuing to outpace the rest of this field. It's really impressive what they did, so I got to give a tip of my cap to the crew chiefs out there, because they did a tremendous job to put them in this position.
So we saw 4 drivers of that lead pack pit. DeYoung, Leahy, Zelensky, Shearburn all in it out, so it is just those 2. Femi Olat leading laps right now with Steven Wilson behind them. They are not the lead cars in this pack. That's because those drivers are at the tail end of the lead lap up the road. That's Blake Reynolds, Anthony Burrows, and Ryan Luza. 3 drivers who we have not talked a ton about here this afternoon. So basically your leaders are just going to hop in line with these guys, and the 18 and 72 or the 17, I should say, are the only 2 drivers who have yet to come down to the pit lane. And you know, we talk about splitting these packs up, right, and trying to separate things. And not only is it impressive, Steve, on what that first pack could do to get the track position, but I think when this cycles through, they'll be able to establish themselves as about a 10-car lead pack. It's a lot better than racing around 30 guys.
It's a lot better, but to go back to the pit stops and the fuel conversation, the only thing you have to be careful of is you have to pay the piper at some point. Every car here needs 94 laps worth of fuel. So there were a few that pitted under that early caution. That allowed them to take a short fill. But if those cars did decide to short fill, the next stop is going to have to be longer, where someone like the 18 or the 17, while I don't love running long, this wouldn't be my first choice. The advantage to this right here is they know they've already given up the time. Go ahead and long fill it now. Hope you get a yellow, and you should have more fuel on board than the rest of the field. You could short fill on a later pit stop and try to leapfrog them when it matters the most. I mean, track position is important, but remember, track position at lap 94 is the key, not track position at lap 33.
And to that point, Steve, all those drivers who pitted in that Conti and Ottinger pack had pitted on that first yellow for a little bit of extra fuel. So that's how they were able to do that. As we go back down to pit road with Cattell.
Yeah, Evan, thanks. I'm hearing some audio real quick from Busa. He's talking about possibly thinking if there's no cautions here that it's going to be a fight for a finish, a fight to the finish. Let's see what he had to say.
Is if this race goes caution free and we end up like far out and we all have to brawl amongst each other to make the final four, I'm gonna hate that.
And we already have a lot of guys worried about if this race goes green. These guys don't want to have to race their teammates out there. So, man, I would hate to be in that position. I was in that position last year.
Oh, that time it worked out pretty good for you, getting the race win here at Talladega. But, you know, I don't really know if I can say it's much of a con, right? I mean, you'd rather not have to fight with those guys. But obviously the pros of having, you know, a large team and a team alliance and getting these guys together is that you can do strategies like this, right? I would rather be in this group of 8 than I would be, you know, in the duo of Olat and Wilson, right? There's strength in numbers. But at the same time, you know, you're right. I mentioned that there was a lot of playoff drivers in that group, teammates with, you know, team affiliations and whatnot. Yeah, you're going to have to at one point decide, all right, we've worked together enough. Now it's time to fight because, $100,000 to the champion is, I think, enough for anybody to turn on any teammate, family member, relative, whatever. They'll work together through the last pit cycle. And then at the end of the race, we can talk a little bit more about betrayal.
Well, and Evan, you think about all the beef potentially that these drivers have had all season long, going through 17 races, wrecking each other. Drivers have great memories. They remember all that stuff, but you put all that aside when you come to these racetracks and try to think about who you can work with and how you can make these strategies play out.
Well, and just watching these top two, right? Femi Olat and Steven Wilson, the bottom of your screen, just riding right now. Again, drafting off of some lapped cars. The draft is also helping them on their fuel number, Steve, and that's a big difference at a racetrack that's 2.66 miles in length, right? Your fuel number driving around here on your own full throttle is a very different fuel number than when you're constantly lifting off of the gas and using the draft.
Yeah, you can save a tremendous amount of fuel. The only question is to what end, to what goal. I don't think they can get all the way to halfway. I don't think they can get all the way to a one-stop race. So at some point, it's just time they're giving up to the rest of the field. I mean, they are still, even with the draft in front of them, running 2 to 4 tenths of a second slower than most of the cars out there on the lead lap behind them.
And obviously, you have to be behind somebody to get that advantage. They have not pitted, so we're working lap 37. They've done 37 laps on fuel. So, for that group of cars who pitted with 71 to go, you should be in the number. The question would be, as a lead car in this pack, so, you take that group of Ottinger and company, as an example, as we run on board with Wilson here, Blake. Nick Ottinger's led this pack off of the pit lane, right? He can't really save any fuel leading this pack. Obviously, he wants to hit the same fuel number as the guys behind him, as it looks like Olat and Wilson will finally call it quits and come down to pit road lap 38. So are we expecting this pack that's in a moment here going to cycle to the race leader? Are they going to try to get Nick Ottinger out of that lead position so he can save at any point?
I don't think so, Evan. And again, I remember I go back to James Davison in this Pro Invitational Series race. There was a big difference between being that first and that second car in line. But Ottinger, look at his teammate behind him. William Byron Sports driver Logan Clampett, he's 5th in that line. Maybe this is one of those plays for Nick Ottinger. Hey, I'm going to help out my teammate, and if we can't make it on fuel, well, guess what? I'll just be the lead car, and I'll just take the hit on the fuel mileage. As you see the difference there, this pack has just done a tremendous job. They weren't even off pit road, Evan. That's how tremendous of a job they've done of being organized up here. But to go back to Nick Ottinger, I think in a way he'll probably be able to make it on fuel, but if he doesn't, he might be taking one for the team and his teammate in Clampett to try to get him a championship. I think he knows more than anybody as a former series champion how that feels.
And there is everybody else. That secondary pack led by Mitchell DeYoung. Looks like the lead pack early in this race. Those slower cars are going to hold the bottom. They want to assimilate into this pack, right? They're going to try to catch the draft and blend into this, but this race has now clearly been split into 2 packs, right? We expected this to happen through green flag pit stops, but look at that timing screen, left-hand side of your monitor. Mitchell DeYoung, the lead car in this secondary pack, is 9.4 seconds back. and the top, 7-car breakaway is faster every single time around. So I wasn't shocked that we saw a breakaway, Steve. I think those guys separated themselves early. We kind of heard whispers that was going to happen, and it played through. But to be honest, I didn't know if under green they'd been able to get 9.5 seconds ahead just like that.
Yeah, I'm shocked with only 7 cars. I mean, look at the amount of cars you see on your screen. You would think that line of cars could be faster. I think it just comes down to the dirtiness of the pack. As you saw that front to back, there was a lot of half cars out, either left or right, people trying to get air to cool their motors, some just that nervous energy of making sure you could see what's in front of you, where when we go back and we look at that with lead 7, they seem to be very efficient, very clean. From a head-on view, you don't see a lot of fenders poking out. That must just be the difference.
And again, this lead group was anywhere from 4 to 6 seconds quicker on pit road. That certainly helped. But I think you're right. I think that when you have, 7 cars, it's a more manageable number. They can all communicate with each other. Those other 25 cars in the other pack can't all communicate together. Let's take a look on the bottom of your screen and a replay going down the back straightaway. We talked about this large, big single file pack trying to blend in line with each other, and a couple of dicey moments there as everybody tried to figure out who belongs in what position. But again, working lap number 41. So far, so good without incident on the inside line, and the bottom looks like the lead did. And now you wonder, what is going to be accomplished, Blake, in this second run, right? You made the point early that when everybody's in a big pack at Talladega, where do you separate yourselves, right? Where can you get away? And it's through the pit stops. Now that this lead pack is so far away, I mean, is there any chance for the young group to make that back up on the second set of pit stops? Or, what do they get out of the next 30 laps running around here and burning fuel trying to get to the end?
Well, I know one way they can catch back up to that pack, Evan, is to wreck each other. But I don't think they want to do that. So I just don't see it. They're going to have to hope that this group of cars has an issue on the pit road. Somebody overshoots pit road, gets into somebody, there's contact, maybe 2 or 3 drivers drop off of this pack in the midst of these green flag pit stops. And when you have 30 cars maybe chasing down 4 or 5, that's probably the best opportunity. But it's going to be really difficult. But as we go through this pit cycle, look at the drivers that we have in this pack. Michael Conti, must-win driver. He's in second. Bob Bryant, pretty much a must-win driver. He's in third. So I don't think we're quite done seeing all the shuffling. And by the way, if one of those drivers is up front, look at Logan Clampett there sitting in 5th. He's going to be dropped below the cut line. So again, a lot to be decided. But again, that second pack, best thing they can probably do is probably wreck each other to catch back up.
They're 9.7 seconds behind the lead group, and the leader in all of this is Mitchell DeYoung. Let's ride on board with the 23 Chevrolet with our DoorDash onboard camera.
I love the focus of this front pack. I tell you, a big question I have as I watch these guys ride around, the rear group has definitely become more organized. Their lap times are better. They're down around 48.0s. The front 7's starting to slow down a little bit. You asked about Nick Ottinger leading, and I wondered, Evan, if you thought there was any chance they would gamble and have one car add a little grill tape. It would be a big, trouble if you ended up in the middle of the pack. But if you would commit to leading that pack around there, you mentioned a car that doesn't need a win. Could he tow the other wind around? As you see a smile and a wave, pretty lighthearted right there in a pretty pressure-packed situation.
Hey, he's clearly feeling good. If you're Mitchell DeYoung, take a look at the cars behind him, right? Keegan Leahy, Bobby Zelensky, already race winners. not too worried about them, and maybe he saw the live points, but he saw himself on the TV because plus 13 is still good for the driver of Mitchell DeYoung. Of course, if you're enjoying tonight's action and want to get in on it for yourself with iRacing, every day is race day. For more information on how to start your sim racing career, visit iRacing.com for more information. And of course, all this talk about this eNASCAR championship, well, if you want to get more information, keep up to date with the schedule, the standings, and the qualification to get into this series one day, you can find all of that information as well at iRacing.com/eNASCAR or as well online at eNASCAR.com. So DeYoung leads this train. They've finally balanced it out, I think. Lap times are pretty even, that top 7 group to this back everybody else basically group, so it's going to be steady at just under 10 seconds of a difference. That time by, we had 48 laps to go here from the Talladega Superspeedway. I mean, this is a race track where we have never seen a repeat winner. 5 different race winners and 5 trips out here to virtual Talladega, Alabama. Cattell, the race winner last year in 2020. Nick Ottinger, the 2019 winner, and then I got to wind the tape all the way back to 2013 when Josh Lawton went to victory lane, Jeremy Allen in 2011, and won. Brad Davies won the first ever Talladega race in this series back in 2010. And when you combine that with Daytona, over the course of 19 superspeedway races all time in this series, we've had 16 different winners. Only Ottinger, Alfala, and Jeremy Allen are multi-time super speedway winners. So, there's guys like Conti who have a lot of confidence coming into a race like this, Blake, but according to the numbers, we really don't have a Brad Keselowski in this series who just rattles them off like it's nothing.
No, you're exactly right that there's no dominator in the history of this series when it comes to super speedway racing. I think that just goes to show how tough it is. I think a lot of drivers in real life, obviously great race cars, great drivers themselves, they're able to put themselves in the right position often enough to be able to win these races. But we've seen races like this where, it's kind of spread out. We see races where we're 2, 3, 4 wide like we were all the way back at Daytona in February in this series. So it just really, that's one of the great things about approaching Talladega, right? You never know exactly what you're going to see. And, of course, we're just one caution away from this entire race completely changing. So that's another thing about a super speedway as well. It's never over until we reach that white flag.
Yeah, last couple of races, I've had a handful of yellows. We saw 3 at Bristol, 4 at Darlington, and 5 at Michigan. The last caution-free race was a road course. That doesn't really count. So you got to go all the way back, to Auto Club earlier this year is the most recent caution-free race. We've had the one early in this one, so we'll see if one comes in the second half. And, just talking about the live points on the right-hand side of your screen, all this talk about, how big the swings are going to be, right? But, I mean, Steve, the points, well, the numbers may be different. Look kind of like they were coming into tonight, right? DeYoung is good. Clampett is good. Not a ton has changed in that respect.
It hasn't, but we're 6 or 7 laps from the last big move of all the chess pieces, right? We're at 44 laps to go. We figured guys could go 35 comfortably. We've seen some run 37 or 38. So I think someone, 37, 36 to go, we're going to see a wave of pit stops. And the questions are then, how much fuel does everyone need? Because I still question that lead pack. I know they put it under the yellow, but how much fuel could they possibly have saved? Did they short fill? Did they not? How short can these guys right here continue to run? That's the question for me, because it looks to me like the 2 2311 cars, the 2 Letard Esport cars leading this pack, seems like there's some pretty good communication between the two of them. They have a pretty good plan.
Look at a lap Brian Schoenberg right there. He'll fall 2 laps down in 39th. And for a race that may be decided on the pit lane, Brandon, you picked a good night to join us from down there.
Yeah, man. Evan, what I'm gathering right now, Graham Bolin might not be the happiest driver with his teammate, believe it or not. With Dylan Duvall, once they blended out earlier, he had this to say.
Can't even switch lanes. You guys are dumb. I don't understand how they can't even simply pass 2 cars without checking up. Like, we were losing time to Conti. There's no point in doing that.
So obviously, Graham Bolin very upset with Dylan Duvall there. His own teammate, guys. Got to be working with your teammates at Talladega.
Yeah, that's your that's your one up on the rest of the field is you can't have really infighting with each other. Thanks, Brandon, for that update, and we'll say big thanks as well to the entire team on pit road helping us out tonight. Justin Prince, Gary Weaver, Michael Grillia, Chris Overland, all those drivers monitoring the radios for us and letting us know what's happening behind the scenes. There is Graham Bolin running in the number 14 position. He last pitted some 23 laps ago, and is just kind of running exactly where he started this race. He is minus 20. So I have to wonder, Blake, how much of that frustration is he's actually mad with his teammate, or how much of the frustration is I'm 10 seconds behind the lead pack and I'm 20 points out of the playoffs?
Yes. I think it's both, Evan. That obviously when things aren't going your way, I think Steve probably knows enough about this. Any driver is gonna find any little thing to complain about, or just everything that seems to go wrong is a big issue. Drivers get emotional. I don't think that's anything new. So we'll see if they continue to work together. Right now they're nose to tails, so maybe they get over some of that coming together, but yeah, I think drivers are bound when it's not going well. It tends to domino from my experience.
Yeah, Steve, I'll ask you about that, right? As the guy that was on the box, for your career and dealing with drivers who at times were upset, I'm sure, and, just kind of let that frustration take over. I mean, what can you do as a crew chief to kind of translate, what that frustration is actually telling you, and how do you kind of keep your driver calm in this situation? Because much like you did in your Cup career, Graham Bolin tonight has a crew chief on the box that's working with him.
Yeah, well, you can either try to calm him down or just turn the volume down. Turn the volume down never seemed to work very well. So to try to calm him down, there's been a lot of meetings before the green flag about how it was going to run, what the plan was, what the goal was. And anytime you see frustration or hear frustration like that, the number one thing I always found was go back to the plan. Don't allow emotion to affect what we're trying to do here. We might have to adjust the plan. We'll let them know, what your frustration was, so maybe we don't have a repeat offense. But in the end, your emotion just takes energy. And right now, we need to save all the energy we have for the task at hand to try to find a way to find this 10-second gap. Keep working the calculators, be aggressive, see if there's some sort of creativity that could get your cars back in the mix.
Well, Corey Vincent rides in the Coca-Cola Zero Sugar Chevrolet right now in 33rd position. Let's take his perspective with the Coca-Cola onboard camera.
I think you're looking at some fuel savings right there, just trying to stay patient, being in line. You hear him in and out of the gas. He could run wide open, but it's either run wide open, drag the brake, or just get out of the gas. You save more fuel trying to get out of the gas, and no one wants to step out of line. You're not going anywhere. So at this point, the last car in line, he's getting the biggest tow. He has such a huge draft that he's just being very, very patient. Unfortunately, I don't think you can be out of the gas enough to reduce the number of stops. So it's really just being patient, keeping your engine cool, waiting your time.
And he is in a third pack, right? We've been talking a lot about the first pack, the second pack. That lead pack is your top 7 cars. The second pack, that's about 10 seconds back. That's position number 8 down through 26th. And then this group is the third pack. They're about 16 seconds off of the race leaders and about 4 seconds off of that middle group. This is the cars 27th to 33rd in the running order. And Vincent is the caboose running in the 33rd spot. But there's also a group of 4 even further behind them. Luza, Burrows, Reynolds, and Nichols. Well, we are on the doorstep of a deciding pit lane call. The lead pack last came down pit road 36 laps ago, and they are coming this time by, Blake, to 36 laps left in this race. So this is the middle point. wouldn't be a bad idea maybe to give them an extra lap or so. You talk about taking less, but no, they're pulling the trigger right at the middle. 36 to go. They're headed to pit road, and they're nearly doing so 4 wide, but it looks like they all get woed up in time.
Oh, man, and again, so much pressure. If you make a mistake right there, if you're Bob Bryant, you're Michael Conti, your chances of battling for $100,000 next week are over. So that looked like it could have gone awry for a second. We've seen a lot of lockups entering pit road, which again is just a byproduct of the fact that you're going 200 miles an hour trying to get load down to about 55 in the blink of an eye. So we'll see how well this pack can get off of pit road, and we'll see if this pack, if they can make up any ground. Remember, this group that's on pit road may not get organized. They may have somebody that sped on pit road. So we'll see if this group can make up any ground staying out like they are right now.
Yeah, it was also tricky for Nick Ottinger to get into the box because he qualified this race in 40th. So he was the #1 pit stall. A lot less time to get it woed up, settle the car, and then actually turn left into the box. He did a very good job. Steve, we talked about their short pit stops early, right? Those were the guys that only spent 8 seconds in the box and 30 seconds on pit road. That was full service for them. It's a 14, 15-second pit stop for all of them. The second group of cars in. So clearly that group took full fuel. They will be good to the end of the race, it seems.
Yeah, so now the question is, how much fuel does everyone else need? Where were they at? What kind of position they were in? That lead group looks like they did a nice job on and off pit road. You mentioned the length of the service. Now it's all about who cycles back out. The problem for the rest of the field is they had lost 10 seconds in the cycle. So even if that smaller group, gives up some time, they're still going to have the lead. The hope is you catch them enough that you can maybe draft off them. I think 4 or 5 seconds back, you'll start to see a little bit of a draft off them. So this group right here, once again, past pit road, they're going to run a little bit longer. That tells me that they're going to make sure they have enough fuel for a green-white checker, or they know they have to put less fuel on board. Let's take a replay of this pit entry right here. Oh, man.
Oof. Ugh. Yeah, that was, I think he's okay as far as a penalty-wise, but he went off it into the grass, which hurt him, so he didn't get the speeding penalty. And I think, fortunately, because the left side tire stayed on pit road, he's not going to get hit with an additional penalty of exiting a closed pit or an improper entry. Basically, if you go into the grass and you come back on pit lane, the sim's going to say, hey, that's not the correct entry procedure, and penalize him. So it looks like Novak loses time with that mistake, but is not penalized for an unsafe entry or for speeding. So, could have been worse, but he does lose touch with most of the cars that he was drafted with at that time. More cars cycling in and out of the pit lane. Of course, Mitchell DeYoung has cycled through to be the race leader. That's why the live points on the right-hand side of your screen has him as the race leader. They may be in anywhere from 2 laps. They can push it a little bit longer, right? They did full service on their first green flag stop, so they could save time by not taking a full tank. But to Steve's point on that kind of strategy there, Blake, I mean, I don't think there's any strategy really that makes up the 10 seconds.
As we have 2 more that are busted for speeding, Evan. Nathan Lyon, too quick entering. We're going to take a look at it right here. I believe Malik Ray, we talk about his super speedway racing prowess. Big lockup, 4 tires all locked up there for Nathan Lyon, not able to get slowed down in time. You also have Malik Ray, too fast entering. And a big development, Evan. Michael Conti was the first off of pit road in that second pack that we believe will cycle through to the race lead. But guess who's leading that pack now? 2 William Byron Esports drivers in Nick Ottinger and Logan Clampett. So Clampett here in a really good position. You can see he is +1 right now above the cut line. That's a big development there off of pit road. Conti was leading that pack and got past.
We talk about the strength of teammates, right? Keegan Leahy already locked in. He's hoping that his teammate Mitchell DeYoung can join him in the battle for the championship and to make half of that championship for grid. 2311 Toyota is the team owned by Denny Hamlin. And on the flip side, we kind of talked about that sacrificial lamb, philosophy. 25 car cannot race for a championship, right? Nick Ottinger cannot go for a title defense. He did not qualify into the playoffs this year. He is there to help the 97 car, and the 8 car basically knows he needs a win. So at some point, there's going to be, a little bit of contention between those 2 groups. But Femi Olad, of course, we saw he stayed way out on that first run. He and Steven Wilson did. Well, that's Wilson up the road. So they flip-flop, but they ride in 9th in 10th position at the moment. It'll be interesting to see if they want to do that again, right? Do they want to stretch it all the way to the end just as a duo? Take almost a half a tank, depending on how late they can go, save time on pit road, or do they kind of cut their losses and pit with a group? That is something else to watch for as we kind of monitor this group, Brandon.
Yeah, Evan, I'm getting some information now from some of the Junior Motorsports cars, William Byron Esports cars, Parker Kligerman cars, and the Mode Motorsports cars, that in this lead pack here, that they might be cutting it a little bit close on fuel. So they made sure to fill it up all the way right on their pit stop there. They were really close on the bubble. They were about 37 laps when they pitted left in this race. So they're worried about a green-white checkered, and I would hate to be in their position right now. That is not what you want to be thinking about coming to the end of this race.
Yeah, if they do a strategy like everybody else is doing, right? All these other cars, depends how tight they want to cut it on fuel. If they only take the fuel required to get to the end, their pit stop's going to be a little bit shorter, but then again, they won't have the reserves necessary for overtime. But it is a thing to worry about, right? As this group, knowing that this strategy almost solely relies on this race going green to the end. Because once you pit and give up the track position that this whole strategy is centered around, then you're really in trouble, Steve.
Yeah, but I would still rather have it. I'd rather have the track position and have a caution beat me than be the cars without track position, hoping caution saves me. The interesting two cars you pointed out, Femi Olat, and I think it was Steven Wilson, who ran really, really long. What I'm starting to scratch my head about is 10 laps of fuel, enough time where they think they can short pit and try to leap from Group A to Group B. That would be an aggressive gamble. But I can think that really is the only reason why they ran long, is now they know they need less fuel, or if we are fortunate enough to get a yellow, they know they can be the shortest two on pit road with the most fuel in the tank. The other interesting thing is we pointed out Connie was the first car off pit road. I believe Ottinger's leading this group by design. I think that car has either more tape on it or something. There's a reason Ottinger continues to be the leader, and there's a reason why these 7 cars can run 15/100ths to 2/10ths better than a big pack. And I believe it has everything to do with that lead car, and this is a complete design by these 7 cars to allow that 25 to lead.
It was a question that was posed by some of the drivers in the second pack, right? I forget who it was, but somebody over the open radio was asking, is anybody running 100% tape? Because they likely wanted to get that car to the lead, to be a little bit more trimmed out, to lead the group, and of course have the clean air so they could draft up. But we talk about the dynamics in this battle, Blake, and what we think is going to become the battle for the race win, right? The 25 is not in the playoffs. His teammate is the 97. Logan Clampett came into this race 8 points to the good. Well, Michael Conti is not a William Byron Esports Chevy. It's a Junior Motorsports Chevy, right? That's a well-known technical alliance. In theory, the 8, again, needs to win this race to advance. The 97 doesn't necessarily have to. He could points his way in. Do you dare, if you're Logan Clampett, help out your teammate there and maybe, push the 8 car to a win to lock him in, and you hope that your points for second or third or whatever that number is are good enough for you? Or are you not even thinking about that kind of a gamble?
Evan, if I'm Logan Clampett, I'm looking in my mirror, and that 8 car is not getting by me at all. If Michael Conti wins this race, guess what? Logan Clampett, as it sits right now, the last driver in, he would be out of the championship 4. And this is what's so interesting about looking at this pack. Look at all the drivers. Clampett in on a good point situation. He's probably content to push his William Byron Esports teammate to yet another win on a plate track. But look at Michael Conti. He has to win. You need help behind you with the way the air bubble works in this package. You have to have help from behind you. Well, where's Michael Conti going to get it? Bob Bryant, must-win situation. Probably not going to happen. You have Matt Busa, must-win situation. Probably not going to happen. So do you look further back, if you're Michael Conti, to Brad Davies, your Junior Motorsports teammates? You have Derek Justice and Ryan Doucette who have caught this. You have a lot to decide right now. And Evan, if I were Michael right now, I'd be sending some PMs and I'd be saying, hey, I'll get you a year's supply of Coca-Cola if you come push me up here to this championship or to be able to compete for one in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, there's the question of, it's my teammate. Is it worth helping him? But I don't know if I want Michael Conti in the championship 4 with me. If I'm Logan Clampett. Steve, who was your Texas Fall winner last year? Michael Conti. Where is our championship race in 2 weeks? Texas. That is just, I get he's a friend, technical alliance, I get all that, but if I'm the 97, I do not want to have to race against that guy at a racetrack that I know he can win at. So I agree with Blake in this. I think at some point, all these alliances are going to get messy. It's going to go out the window as we take a look at the 17 of Steven Wilson. He and Femi Olad, who had been working together so good all night, nearly took each other out there that time. But up front, I'm with Blake. I think that all these alliances and handshakes are at some point in the next 24 and a half laps going to be thrown out the window now.
Oh, in my mind, the white flag. I think we have an agreement until we see the white flag, and once the white flag waves, it's whoever can get back to the lead first. And yeah, I think the 97, it makes all the sense in the world to help Mike Conti put himself in position, but in no way, shape, or form should you pull over and allow another guy to win the race. And I don't think that's anywhere near their intention. It's just find guys with like-minded approaches to the race, and that's what's worked. And they're in a great position. They have about 8.5 seconds on the pack behind them. Running great lap times down in the 47-second lap. So it's been a good run for this team. They've done a nice job, this entire group of cars, with 24 to go.
Going to work around a bit of lap traffic there. That's at number 29 machine on the bottom of Zach Nichols going down a lap. But let's ride on board with our Logitech G onboard camera. You're with Mitchell DeYoung. Another wave from Mitchell DeYoung there. Enjoying the screen time. I just wish that if I was, one race away from possibly fighting for $100,000, I could be that calm, cool, and collected from behind the wheel, Blake, to just smile and wave at the camera. Mitchell's always been like that all year, though.
Mitchell has a wonderful ability to just kind of, just have fun, and I think that's why he's so successful across all these disciplines, Evan.
All these drivers should be good to the end of the race. We'll step aside one final time. We are 22 laps away from finalizing our championship 4 grid. It's Nick Ottinger leading, but it's Clampett, Conti, Bryant, and Busa in contention for the race win at Talladega.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
Talladega isn't fair. It's not supposed to be. And it doesn't want to be. Up in the air and around they go! Throw around 12 playoff drivers at over 200 miles an hour, and let's see the world's fastest roulette wheel do what it does best.
No way.
Choose one winner and leave the rest of the field in a heartache. The NASCAR playoffs continue at Talladega, Sunday on NBC.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. When you're ready to know what it's like, we're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. with a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
And back live from iRacing's virtual Talladega Superspeedway, where coverage of tonight's race is brought to you, as always, by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Asus, the official gaming hardware partner of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And by Logitech G and the Logitech G923, the official wheel and pedal of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Working lap number 77 in this 94-lap, 250-mile contest. Let's take a look on board with our Playseat onboard camera with your race leader. It's Nick Ottinger.
As we look at Nick Ottinger, Evan, I think the one thing I'm noticing, cool, calm, and collected. You could almost think that this guy's a champion in this series, Nick Ottinger. Is he just looked like he was looking in his mirror, not really sweating about anything. I think you feel like that when you have your teammate behind you leading you at the pack at Talladega.
It gives you confidence, right? You want friends around you anytime, certainly in a race like this. And well, talking about seeing from some of these drivers, Michael Conti is running in third, and we are live on the radio with him. Steve, we'll give you this one.
All right, I won't take much time, Michael. Appreciate you joining us. Sitting in third behind two teammates, your teammate Brad Davies a few cars behind. What's the plan in the closing lap? 16 to go.
Well, Steve, I think we kind of caught everybody by surprise with this strategy. I'm surprised more people didn't catch on, but really proud of everything that we've done to prepare for this race. Everybody that worked on this WR1 car, it's super fast, strategy super good. We just got to ride in line here a little bit longer, and then hopefully we can race it out among ourselves at the end.
All right, I'd love to ask you what lap, but I'm not going to make you give away your secret here with 15 to go. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Steve.
You know, when a guy's willing to talk to you in the middle of the race, Evan, you can't ask for all the secrets. And he's absolutely right. It was a great strategy. Remember, this was from that first yellow all the way back at the beginning of the race. That's where this all came from. Took gas on what seemed like a meaningless yellow, shortened their fuel fill on the first green flag stop, and that was it. That was the difference maker for this entire race.
Came down pit road at lap number 22, came back down to the pit lane at lap number 58, and it has been history since then. 3 total trips down to the pit lane for almost all of the cars in this lead pack, and that is what put them in this position now with 14 laps to go. And I just got to say, we were talking about Mitchell being confident, right? Smiling and waving to the camera. I mean, he's a guy that's at least above the cut line right now. So big thanks to Michael for giving us that perspective there. One of the old-time greats and old-time veterans of this series, 2014 champion Michael Conti, was a lot of the fans' picks, Blake, this year to repeat and join Ray Alfala as the only multi-time series champions. He's got his work cut out for him still, but he's at least in position.
Well, and that's all you can ask for, to be in this position. Given the point situation, Conti has had a pretty terrible round, just to be quite frank about it. He's just been caught up in stuff not of his doing, bad luck, whatever you want to call it, but this is all you can ask for. 13 to go as they cross the stripe this time, running in third, and a chance at another championship is about 2 tenths in front of him. So he has an opportunity, but again, he has to find that work behind him. Somebody has to go with him. Brad Davies, he's been catching up to him a little bit. He may be able to get some help from his Junior Motorsports teammates. There's some lap cars that have latched onto this pack. If I were one of these lead cars, I'd be talking to some of those guys.
I
Yeah,
really
we
think
were
that's
talking-
the whole point, Evan, is who's
Yeah.
in this front group, right? I think we need to start looking at the teammates. We know we have teammates at the front, but then you have Conti. He does have a teammate in this pack. Bob Bryant's back there, Matt Busa, Brad Davies. The question is, who's going to help who? We know the move's coming. We heard it from Michael Conti. They're not going to ride to the checker. The question is when, and when it happens, who's going with who?
He didn't tell you when, but I think that smirk said it all, right? He's thinking about something, Blake, and we were talking about the possibilities, right? Technical alliances happening. I mean, the way it looks now, based on those points, the 97 car of Logan Clampett is only 1 point behind Mitchell DeYoung, right? So if another driver were to win this race, anybody below that red line, right? If the 75 were to win it, if Conti and the 8 were to win this thing, then the 97 would be out by 1 point to the lone points paying position, which right now would go to the 23 of DeYoung. So the 97's in a tricky spot because he cannot physically get any more points without just winning the race outright. And you're looking at Mitchell DeYoung, he is leading, when you talk about what the 23 is doing, he is the second car in a secondary pack. There's still a chance that Mitchell loses spots as well. So that 1 point could be huge because right now it's the difference between third and fourth. It could be the difference for fourth and fifth.
Well, if I'm Mitchell, obviously you're thinking, okay, what's the worst case scenario that somebody like Conti, Bryant, Busa goes up and wins this race? You're 1 point to the good right now, but look at who Mitchell is around, Evan. You have Bobby Zielinski in front of you, and you have your teammate in Keegan Leahy, who are both locked into the championship 4 behind you. So I think if push comes to shove, if Mitchell is going into the last lap and it may be a point that makes the difference, I don't think Keegan Leahy is going to have any issue in pushing Mitchell DeYoung by Bobby Zielinski to make sure he is good on that 1 point. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that in the last couple of laps just to be safe between Leahy and DeYoung.
And we're doing the hard work for the teams. We're letting them know that it's 1 point by showing the live points. It saves the crew chief and everybody else on the box doing that math. Steve, is that something that you had to deal with? I mean, in these more recent years, with the playoffs and when it comes to qualifying at the end of a regular season, I mean, as a crew chief, did you ever pay attention to those points? And were you guys running your own numbers, or were you looking over to the NBC monitors and seeing what they were saying?
Oh, absolutely. When I was on top of the pit box, we ran our own numbers. The last thing we wanted to do is to go back to Rick Hendrick and tell him we thought we were good, but TV had it 1 point wrong. If we were going to do the math, it was going to be on our own. But yeah, you have to look at it, and it's even more complicated now for these Cup guys because they have to take into stage points. And that's going to be something we're going to see on Sunday at Talladega, is the aggression at the end of both the first and the second stage. At least the eNASCAR guys, while they don't have stage points, the little bit of complication here is, it's 1 point of position, kind of. There's still that winning bonus, which here a win is automatic, but it can move around and change those points around quite a bit.
Yeah, and that's why, there's nothing else that Logan Clampett can do right now in second besides win the race. He can't just get 1 point to tie Mitchell because it doesn't matter. If he gets 1 extra point, he's actually getting 5 more for winning the race. So the only thing that Logan Clampett can do here is win. And again, that's the question mark behind. He really doesn't want Michael Conti to pass him because, again, if those points hold, if Conti passes the 97 and wins this race, Clampett is going to be out, and it may be by that 1 singular point, and that's where the advantage comes in of Keegan Leahy, having won that race last week at Bristol, just the second driver in series history to win an oval race while leading every single lap. He led all 250 of those laps at Bristol, and because he's the one behind DeYoung should be in a pretty safe position at that plus 12. But again, it's not just Conti, it's not just Clampett, because Bob Bryant and Matt Busa are there as well, and I don't know if the move's going to happen at 3 to go, 2 to go, or 1 to go, but it's going to happen at some point. Of course, I think the primary concern for the guys up here, get to the white flag, Blake, right? This race will be official. We talked that they probably don't have a lot of extra fuel for overtime if we get into that conversation. So maybe they'll wait till the white because of that, because you don't want a yellow, A, and B, you certainly don't want to be the yellow by fighting, but this could be awfully aggressive up front. I mean, I think when they make that move, it is going to be nothing to lose and no holds barred.
Absolutely, and Evan, I think they may go a little bit earlier than that if you're further back in this pack. Maybe if you're Conti, you're in a position to maybe wait until the last lap, but if you're Bob Bryant, if you're Matt Busa, I would plan that move out with maybe 5 to go to try and position yourself a little bit earlier. I don't think you can get it all done on the last lap, so I'd be thinking a little ahead and trying to maybe plan it out 2-3 laps before we get to 2 to go.
Here's a look at lap times. Bobby Zelensky, who is leading the second pack, compared to Nick Ottinger, who is leading the lead pack. We mentioned that that second group of cars could do the shorter service this time by. They did so. Remember, that gap was about 10 seconds. It's down to 6.3. Almost all of that was made up on the pit lane. They made up 1 to 2 seconds real quick there. They're kind of stuck at about 6.3 seconds back. They are not going to catch the race leaders if this thing goes green. There's not only the top 6, though, Steve, right? It's a 6-car pack up front, but there's more than 6 cars in that lead pack. Behind Brad Davies, it's worth noting that Derek Justice, Chris Shearburn, and Zach Nichols, Ryan Doucette are all there. So it's 6 lead lap cars, 4 lapped cars. So to Blake's point, if I'm at the back of that group of 6, right, if I'm a Davies or maybe I think more importantly Busa, right, looking for a win, he's minus 11. I wonder if he'll try to work with those lapped cars hanging onto the back of this pack to get some strength in numbers and get a push.
That's really what I'm looking at. You know, we continue to talk about the 97 and the 8, but Busa, I really think is the person that's on the cusp of needing to make a move, right? Because he thinks to himself he needs to somehow get up there. He's had a great run. He's running inside the top 5, but at this point, it's not going to be enough. It will make a big swing quickly, though, because if the 97 is the car that he passes, then he'll be losing points as he's gaining them.
And there is Clampett and Conti on the bottom of the screen. And, you know, just in case you forgot, there's all this drama around, you know, which of these drivers will advance to the championship. The way the points work now, they cannot both advance. It's going to hinge on that 1-point difference to Mitchell DeYoung. It could happen, but as the points sit now, there's no way Clampett and Ottinger both advance. And don't forget, Blake, those guys are roommates, so that's the added element.
They were roommates.
Yeah.
You see Conti right there. You can actually see Conti in the background of Clampett's shot. Conti kind of has his back to the wall, so can't really see that. So yeah, any post-race tussle, it won't be a bit of a travel to get to them.
You think they're talking to each other, maybe? I mean, they are awfully close. And here's the other driver, Bob Bryant, representing Kligerman Sport. The Gnomes got the Coca-Cola hat on. He is ready to go. He started this race, and I mean, the starting position for these guys, Ottinger started dead last, Clampett 28th, Conti 26th, Bob Bryant started 31st in this race. But based on strategy that was all planned out, has driven himself up to the number 4 spot. He has 29 points out. He 110% needs a race win, and they're coming this time by to 2 laps to go.
Again, you need help. Where are you going to get it from? You have to have cars behind you to push you, Evan, and that's the one real predicament that Bob Bryant's in right now. He doesn't have help in Busa. He probably doesn't have it in Brad Davies or any of those other cars up here. It's a really tough position to be in.
Obstacle 6 in the air. 2 laps to go, Steve. Hold your breath.
Yeah, hold your breath. And how patient can you be? If you're Bryant, can you wait to the white flag so far, single file line? You have to ask. The lap cars are up there trying to get their lap back. But at some point, will they remove themselves from the battle or will they get into it? I would hate to be somebody that turns a playoff car. I would perhaps remove myself with 1 to go and not be part of it. Instead, we see 2 wide back in the pack.
And they're starting to think about it here as they want to make some moves, but they'll stay single file only. Zach Nichols has gone to the outside. None of the lead lap drivers have indulged in that yet. The good news is it is clean racetrack in front of these leaders. They are going to be able to fight it out amongst themselves. Nick Ottinger is looking for the white flag, Blake. Conti goes to the outside, but he gets faked out by Bob Bryant. White flag in the air. This race is official.
And Bob Bryant going to move into 3rd. Does he have that help and boost? So you got to think the desperation setting in. You got to take every single run you have. They're going to work off of turn 2.
Bob Bryant made Conti think he was going with him and left him. What's the next play? Ottinger Clamp it. It's Bryant, Busa, Conti the top 5. Here comes Busa to the outside. No drafting support from the 37. He tucks back down in line. Nick Ottinger going to be a sitting duck off of turn number 4. It's the 97 to clamp it behind, who is safe if this position holds. Bryant looks high, looks low. He can't find anything. And Nick Ottinger will win at Talladega and bring his teammate Logan Clampett into the championship 4.
And also worth mentioning, Mitchell DeYoung finishing in 8th. That should be good enough to put him into the championship 4 as well.
Gained an extra spot on the last lap of this race, so Mitchell DeYoung is safe in that number 8 position. He holds strong, and it should be DeYoung and then Clampett, the 2 drivers in on points. And we talked about it, Steve. How would those team alliances work? Bob Bryant took Conti out of the equation with that fake out, and at that point, Clampett knew, listen, if I go to try to pass him for the race win here, I could get wrecked and end it. He knew as soon as Conti was out of that picture that I was pushing Nick Ottinger to the race win, because as long as they finished in that order, it accomplished the mission. Ottinger gets a checkered flag. Clampett will fight for a championship, and we might just get some team burnouts here for the William Byron Esports Chevrolets.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself, though, if Bob Bryant doesn't want that move back. I know they feel good about what they did as a team, but with Michael Conti, there was an opportunity to push Conti and then try to pull out a line and pass him, and that would have put the 77 in. So you just never know. We'll always relive those last laps.
This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR, and that entire contingent of cars celebrates, but only 2 of them accomplished their missions, and that was Nick Ottinger for winning the race and Logan Clampett for advancing into the championship. Let's take a look at our Coca-Cola move of the race. It happens on this last lap. You had already seen that move happen, right? Bryant went to the outside, looked like he was going to push Conti, tucked back in line, Blake, and it was the 77 trying to be an aggressor here, but those top 2 cars were not moving.
Well, and I think that this is where Bob Bryant wishes he had taken that run that Busa had given him to go to the outside. He probably was thinking maybe the same thing would happen, that Busa would leave him out to dry. But again, just staying in line right here, a really tough decision. We don't know who's going to help you. You have Derek Justice back there, but right here it's just a little bit too late because Busa's going to do everything possible to try to get by Bryant, so he wasn't going to help him at all.
And as they cycle off of the final corner, it is too little too late. And in a 1-2 finish for William Byron Esports, they execute the strategy perfectly. Nick Ottinger back in victory lane. And again, unofficially, we'll wait on 110% confirmation, but Logan Clampett, courtesy of that toe, will fight for a championship here in 2021. Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola full race results. Playoff drivers finishing 2, 3, 4, 5, and 8 of the drivers, of course, who needed a win. Zelensky 7th, Leahy 9th. That really didn't matter. They were already locked in. And then back here in the second half of the screen, not really good enough nights for Graham Bolins and Jimmy Mullis, who come home 13th and 18th.
And really tough work for these guys right here. You see further back in the pack, a lot being decided again in the relegation battle right here. No, we didn't get to touch on it that much, but many of these drivers, Evan, really struggled when it came to those green flag pit stops. That's why they were a lap behind.
Nick Ottinger gets another trip into victory lane. It is career win number 18 in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and Steve Letart's with him in victory lane.
Well, Nick, congratulations. The guys up in the booth, you made it look very easy, but it ended up being a great strategy call very early in the race. It got you the track position, and then great teamwork all the way to the checkered flag.
Oh, man, I'm so ecstatic to get our team in victory lane. We've had so many opportunities this year with R25, Logitech G, TSM, and William Byron Esports Machine. Man, I'm just to finally put a race and result together because we've been so fast all year. You have higher expectations from a championship, pretty much from last year, and we didn't make the playoffs, man. But the fact of the matter is we're a team for a reason. We're a championship team still. I would say even this year, it's hard to win these races, and I hated being in the spot like that to kind of have to control a lot of our team alliance members too. But it's just awesome to get TSM in victory lane. Awesome to get Logan in the Final Four. And I mean, he's deserving of a Final Four spot. But we got a tall task to pretty much get him in, a really good car for Texas finale. And I'm ecstatic, man. I'm just ready. Finally have to get TSM in victory lane and Logitech G back up front.
Technical teammates, as far as you could see in the mirror, were their nerves to try to figure out what you were supposed to do, what you needed to do to help your team, and at the same time not try to derail anybody else's attempt?
Yeah, there was so many nerves. There's so many nerves because I only had I ran out doing a burnout, man. I didn't have enough for just to even do a burnout. So we all just sat there kind of doing a team picture. And I mean, I was definitely nervous. I mean, I didn't really want to be that guy putting, 3 really good friends and really good teammates in a bad spot. But I mean, we did our best for our William Byron Esports team. And that's, end of the day, we needed one of them in the Final Four.
All right, well, congratulations. It was an impressive run, great strategy, and great drive.
Thank you, man.
All right, Logan. Well, congratulations on a good run, and a bigger congratulations on a berth in the Final Four at the final race of the season. I could see the smile. At what point did you know you had a chance? When you were in line there, you had Conti breathing down your neck, a team out in front of you. I mean, it was pins and needles for the closing laps.
I mean, I was stressing, man. I mean, it is such an awkward position to be. I mean, plan was just to try and stay glued to Nick as much as possible, and just big picture was to make the Final Four. I'm just speechless. I never thought I'd be fighting for a championship again. This is our first time since 2017 doing it. We got second in 2017, and hopefully we can do one position better. But these Team Conti and Drill Owl guys, they're amazing. Such an amazing strategy. It probably wasn't entertaining for everyone, but I really thought someone else would have figured it out with us, but thankfully no one did, and the race went green. Thankfully the race went green, and it worked out perfectly. Big thanks to William Byron Esports for bringing me on this year. I can't believe we're gonna go fight for a championship again. I seriously can't believe it. Big thanks to Logitech. I'm proud to be representing them, and we just brought on sim seats onto the car for the last 2 races, so thankfully they made it into the Final Four as well. So big thanks to Logitech and sim seats. Obviously go check them out. I'm in a sim seats rig right now, the SRX driving simulator, and I've got my Logitech driving force here, the True Force, and I've got the pedals along with it. Just insane equipment. This is just the most comfortable I've been all season long, and we have had just an insane playoff. Sorry for talking so much. You probably don't have any more questions.
Hey man, it's good. You're excited. Congratulations. You're in the Final Four, man.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, Bob, I got to ask you, first of all, great run. Team cars all stacked up all the way around you. I got to go back to that one to go, the run by Conti. You had a decision make, push him, fall back in line. I know it was a really tough spot to be in, though. Now that you see the results, are you happy with your actions?
No, but just because we didn't win, right? And it was that's kind of all that mattered. Happy with the result. Obviously we played the strategy really well. Coming off 4, I knew the bottom was going to be, I think, where a lot of the guys behind me were going to go. I had a must-win car directly in my mirror as well in Busa, and I thought the odds of him following both of us through probably pretty slim. So I think we did everything the right way, and unfortunately, Logan wasn't a must-win, so he was able to just kind of stick on Nick's back bumper there. He didn't have to go for the pass to win the race, and had he had to do that, I think we probably would have had a run on him and could have done something. But overall, just great strategy. Really happy. We all executed really well, and we got pretty close, but not quite enough.
It was great execution, great strategy, and I happen to agree. I don't know if you push Conti, if anything ever comes. You needed that one more run down the backstretch. A great season. I know you came up a little bit short, though. Now, how do you kind of approach the final race of the year? Just try to gain as many points as you can, end on a high note?
Yeah, we're all about that money, Steve. We're gonna try and finish as best we can and ship some prize money and have a good run for Lux Beans and Xerox and Valvoline and everybody that's been a part of this year, Team Chevy too. But yeah, it'll be fun. The pressure's kind of off. It'll be a fun race, and Texas is a good track for us. We led about half the race there last year, so happy to be headed there. Wish we were in the Final Four with a shot at the $100,000, but what can you do?
Well, if we can ever get Parker off vacation, we'll get him back up in the booth here, and we'll be calling the race next week or a couple weeks in Texas.
Yeah, good luck with that. The man is a globetrotter.
Well, that is a talk with your top three finishers, and this is your playoff grid. Bobby Zalenski and Keegan Leahy advancing to the championship 4 courtesy of race wins, and Mitchell DeYoung and Logan Clampett will advance based on points. One race remains to determine a championship, and we talk about all those different aspects of a title fight. Texas will be the location. But first, let's kind of get our final thoughts on this one, Steve. Team dynamics, huge in the end of it.
Team dynamics, huge, and strategy played a big part. I know, what did they say? I know it wasn't that exciting. It was a strategy win. I completely disagree. I love a good strategy, and that's exactly what we saw, and it was early. Nobody knew it. The first caution of the day would make the difference. That's what it was. It took a green flag race, but that's what we received. But there was a lot of opportunity. We saw Chris Sherburne speeding on pit road. We saw some other cars speed. We make it seem like the strategy handed it to these front 5. It was anything but. Green flag pit stops were a lot of opportunity to make mistakes. They avoided them, and they patiently waited to the white flag to dice it out. I was thoroughly entertained.
Blake, you know these guys as well, better than most. I mean, how would you assess our field of 4 who will fight for that grand prize of $100,000 in 2 weeks?
Well, Evan, I look at this championship 4, and first off, I think it's a very deserving championship 4. You look at the likes of Keegan Leahy, Bobby Zalenski, Mitchell DeYoung. I mean, these are guys that their average start in this series is 6th or better. The rest of the field is 13th or worse. So that's one thing when looking at this championship 4 is those 3 drivers have been just exceptional in qualifying. And oh, by the way, Bobby Zalenski's had about a month now to just focus on Texas. So I think Zalenski obviously goes in as the favorite, getting that early win at Darlington in this round. But again, a very deserving championship 4. Mitchell DeYoung, all the consistency on the road courses, and Logan Clampett showing up at Atlanta with the win, been very consistent all year. I think this is really wide open. I don't know who we're going to get at the end of this deal.
2 weeks' time, one race to determine a champion. We hope to see you then on October the 12th for the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Until next time, that is it here for us tonight from Talladega. On behalf of our entire team behind the scenes at NASCAR, at iRacing, for our crew behind the scenes tonight, and for your team upstairs as well. For Blake McCandless, Steve Letarte, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in, and congratulations to your race winner tonight, Nick Ottinger, but congratulations to your final 4 drivers. We're back for one final race in 2 weeks' time on Tuesday, October the 12th, from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. That race and every race of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively here on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Until next time, good night from Talladega. We'll race for a championship in 2 weeks.